It's 7 p.m. This is the Londonderry Town Council meeting. It's Monday, May 5th, 2025. Everyone please stand for the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have a proclamation for Municipal Clerks Week, and Dan's going to read it.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir.
State of New Hampshire, by Her Excellency Kelly A. Ayotte, Governor, a proclamation. In the year of our Lord, 2025, Municipal Clerks Week, May 4th through May 10th, 2025, whereas municipal clerks serve as the professional links between residents, local governing bodies, and the government agencies at all levels, and whereas municipal clerks are entrusted with maintaining public records, administering elections, and ensuring the transparency and integrity of local government, and whereas the work of the municipal clerks demands accuracy, dedication, and a deep commitment to public service, often performed behind the scenes without widespread recognition. And whereas the citizens of New Hampshire rely on municipal clerks to safeguard essential government processes and to uphold the democratic values that form the foundation of our communities, and whereas through their dedication, professionalism, and commitment to service, municipal clerks help strengthen our communities and play a vital role in making New Hampshire the best state in the country. And whereas this week serves to recognize the vital contributions of municipal clerks and to extend our sincere appreciation for their outstanding service to the New Hampshire cities and towns. Now, therefore, I, Kelly Ayotte, Governor of the state of New Hampshire, do hereby proclaim May 4th through May 10th, 2025, as Municipal Clerks Week in the state of New Hampshire, and encourage all citizens to join me in honoring the dedication and professionalism of our municipal clerks. In testimony whereof, I hereby hereunto set my hand and cause the seal of the state of New Hampshire to be affixed this 4th day, May 2025. Kelly A. Ayotte, Governor.
Thank you, Sherry and all the clerks. Thank you very much.
I think anybody who does visit our town hall knows that our town clerks are very valuable and they do an excellent job helping people out. So thank you.
Thank you very much for everything you do. Next, Chief/Town Manager would like to introduce some new associates.
Come on up. So, councilors, good evening. Members of the community in the back, hello, welcome. This is one of the best parts of our job, and we have to take a moment and recognize accomplishments and new hires of employees that we've hired to serve the town of Londonderry. First and foremost, we've been talking about vacancy positions within our organization, police department, town hall, and others in this town for quite some time. As you folks are well aware, the staff is diligent at hiring the right candidate at the right time to fit the right position for the need of our community. And I believe we have accomplished that as of late. To my left right here is our new executive assistant. She'll be working for the next town manager, Sean Mulholland, and for you folks here at the town of Londonderry, her name is Tanya Pinter. Tanya has over 14 years of experience, outstanding leadership, and her knowledge and wisdom is going to fit hand in hand with the future leadership of our town government, with Sean's leadership, and therefore to coincide with the needs of the town council. We went through an extensive interview process with several candidates, myself, Kelly Karen, as well as the HR director, and Tanya was by far the best candidate we interviewed. So I am pleased to introduce Tanya Pinter, the new EA for the town of Londonderry. The police department, on down the line, here we go. This young lady right here is our newest hire in the paralegal legal services of professional standards, being led by Captain Mark Morrison. Her name is Jillian Caravan, and Jillian's our paralegal with 5 years experience. And we like to brag. We took her, or she came to us, from the U.S. Attorney's Office. It's not every day you get a candidate with that much experience and that caliber of an organization to come to our town, but we did. And I'm going to continue to say this every single time until the day I go. Londonderry stands out for multiple reasons. We're a great community. We have the support from our council. We have the support from our leadership. The community supports the people that we hire. We see this time and time again, all the time. We are a beacon for employees. They want to be here. These two fine candidates could have gone anywhere else. They chose here. It's a good fit. We believe that these people are going to be the future leadership of our organization. So she will be taking over. She has been here for about 2 weeks now, so she'll be taking over and helping out in the very busy paralegal legal area of our police department. So I just want to say thank you, Jillian, for choosing us as well. We look forward to many years of your help and guiding us, the men and women of the PD. So thank you very much. Okay. The two in the middle, hang tight. All the way at the end, Ben Ashton. Benjamin is a police officer we have hired to fill one of our vacancies. Benjamin is coming to us with 3 years of experience from Portsmouth Police Department. Benjamin was one of several on our certified processes, and he stood out to us for many, many reasons. This young man is what we look for in a Londonderry police officer. He's squared away. He's dedicated, he's loyal, he's compassionate, he's caring, and he's got his stuff together. We felt as though you leaving Portsmouth, as I've said before, this is no secret. Police officers today, as fire service as well, they have the pick of the litter. They can go wherever they want because there's that much of a need for them. And he chose us, and the fit's going to be remarkable. There's no doubt that you have a bright future ahead of you. I just want to thank you and your wife and your beautiful daughter for being a part of our family, and we welcome you here, and we look forward to the changes that you're going to make to the PD as well. So thank you. All right, now for some good stuff. This gentleman right here, Michael Tufo. Mike Tufo, for those of you that don't know Mike's been a police officer since 2010. And we hired Michael in 2013. We stole him too. We do a lot of stealing. Hope it doesn't get misrepresented anywhere. But we stole him from Milford for the same reasons that we talked about the others. Michael has served in the capacity of an officer, a detective, and most recently the most rewarding position that he's ever served in, I believe, is the high school SRO. No small task. Being the school resource officer for Londonderry High School is a job. And that man over there has done it unwaveringly, professionally, unbelievable for the last 3.5 years. And the command staff and I had the distinct privilege to promoting him to sergeant. As you folks can imagine, being an SRO, it's a pretty good gig. You get to help influence, lead, guide, mentor the youth of our future. It comes at a cost. You're Monday through Friday. You're not around all the command staff. For those of you who don't know, that's the sergeants, lieutenants, captains, so on. And you miss out a lot of those things. This man stayed diligent. He studied, he tested, he competed, and he came out on top. He's a clear choice of a leader, and we had an easy decision to make. Do we go with him as a sergeant or we leave him in the school? And the reality is his leadership, we want him back on the road. We want him to help influence, mold, shape, train the future generation of the police officers, much like Samantha Savini, much like Benjamin Ashton. And we believe Michael's the next sergeant. He's proven himself. So without further ado, that's Sergeant Michael Tufo. And last, certainly not least, as the saying goes, is Samantha Savini. So Samantha Savini, another fine candidate that worked for Hampton PD, who chose us, could have gone anywhere else too. We hired Samantha in 2022. She had left Hampton with about 1.5 years. I think the commute was an issue. the beach weather wasn't all cracked up to be, and you wanted to be a part of the best PD in the state. I'm sure that's why you chose us. And Samantha put in to replace Sergeant Michael Tufo at the high school. So Samantha is going to get the experience, the learning, and the ability to mentor, train, lead, and guide the next generation that Mike did such a great job building for the future too. So these are opportunities that we create within the organization so people can experience a different part of policing. It's an important role, as we've all talked about in the past. It's an important role in society. That society important role is nationwide. School resource officers are important. They are vital. And we believe that after your interview's concluded, your track record and how you conduct yourself, that you would be a fine addition to the SRO team. We appreciate you putting in for that. We know you're going to do a great job. So thank you very much for your interest. And as the old saying goes, you have some big shoes to fill, but I think you'll be fine. So what I'd like to do is I would like for you folks to go up around the table here, shake your hands, and just say your name to the council. Council, please, thank you very much for this opportunity, and that's all I have for now.
Well,
Hi again. Good luck. Hi.
Thank you.
Nice to meet you.
looking forward to you helping
Nice
us.
to meet you.
We'll meet you. Hello again. Thank you. Looking forward to you helping. Congratulations. Congratulations, sir. So you can break dance. It's okay. Congratulations, sir. Thank you.
Congratulations, welcome.
I'll open public comment.
Marge Bedoy, Chairman of the Conservation Commission. There was some misinformation given at last meeting during public comment, and I just want to provide correction and hopefully some clarification. The subject of conservation easements came up. It was stated that any easement can be challenged and brought to the ballot. That's not true. Just reading from the Attorney General's procedure, it says, the release, extinguishment, or other termination of a conservation easement, whether in whole or in part, requires court approval and a cypress proceeding. The Attorney General must be given notice of and is a necessary party to this proceeding. So it's not so simple. And this cypress that it's mentioned is the idea that if subsequent circumstances frustrate the conservation purpose to the point that it would be impossible or impractical to continue using the property for that purpose, the court can amend or terminate the easement. However, the court will try and ensure that the property, money from the sale of the property, or any resulting benefit will be used in a manner that is as close as possible to the original conservation purpose. Additionally, it was further stated that the property with an easement can be taken to the voters if they want to sell it. That also is not exactly true. Properties with easement is a private property. Private property can be sold at any time to anyone for any price that they decide. It does not require permission from anyone. For example, Andy Mack sold the farm. We didn't have anything to say about that. The thing that matters is all the terms of the easement, the conservation easement on that property, stay with the property forever. It's a perpetual contract. So the new owner has to comply with every phase of that conservation easement. And that's that.
Thank you, Marge.
Good evening.
How are you,
John Mahan, 26 King Arthur Drive. And I'm here tonight speaking as a member of the Beautify Londonderry Committee. Two quick things, folks. First, if you haven't seen one of our signs, our Facebook posts, all the stuff we put out there to tell everybody that we're coming. This coming Saturday, May 10th, from 9 to 12, we'll be out in front of Matthew Thornton School with our annual spring roadside cleanup. This year we've got a special treat. The first 100 volunteers will receive a free ice cream from Max Apples, donated by the folks over there. And if the weather is inclement, like today, we'll move it to the 17th. But we're looking for May the 10th, and we'd like to invite all of you guys. We know that your time is jammed up with everything you do here, but if you've got the time, you want to get a little fresh air and get out amongst the folks and pick some roadside trash, it's a great opportunity. So that was number one. Number two, and Kelly, I have one slide in there. Thank you. Oh, you did good. Here, we'll give some handouts. Can I approach here?
Absolutely.
There's been a couple of discussions at the last few council meetings about roadside trash, who should pick it up, who shouldn't pick it up, all that kind of stuff. One thing I can assure you that when it comes to picking up roadside trash, I'm your boy. But just to be clear, just to go over a little bit in terms of the roadside trash side of Beautify Londonderry, we sponsor two large townwide cleanups a year, one in the spring, one in the fall. Beyond that, we have a sponsor a road program. Right now, we have 5 companies that sponsor their road. Twice a year, they send employees out, usually paid employees at their own expense, to go and clean up the streets in general that they're located on. That's done with the cooperation of the DPW, because we not only do they pick up the trash that these companies select, but they also erect a sign at the end of the street recognizing that company as a sponsor or a road company. So it's a cooperative effort. Beyond that, we do 5 to 10, I'd call them special roadside cleanups each year, where we'll have an organization. It might be a scout group, might be a religious church organization. Frankly, in June, for the 4th time, we will have the entire Lancer football team turn out to spend I believe it's a Saturday morning this year, cleaning roads, and we'll send those folks, and they bring a real good support squad with them in terms of adult supervision, because we don't want those boys to go rampant through the town. So, but they do a great job picking up. And then recently we've done some different things besides the stuff that we do. We just recently worked with Erin Matlin over at Leach Library and put in a do-it-yourself kit, roadside cleanup kit in the library that folks can check out just like you would check out a book. And if you have a street and you decide you don't want to be a Facebook warrior with your typewriter, or perhaps come and talk on end to the town council about a road, you can go out and clean it up yourself. We've given you nice high visibility vests so you won't get hit by a vehicle. There's a picker in the kit, and there's trash bags. And Beautify Londonderry is committed to look in on that periodically with the folks at the library, make sure it's well stocked and everything is working. So we want to take this a step further. And frankly, what we would like to do is set up a Beautify Londonderry roadside cleaning station right here in Town Hall. We've put one up on the screen. I've given you a handout. It's complete. It'll make the effort safe for anybody that wants to go out and do this kind of work, in that we do have the high visibility vests. You can see pickers and trash bags, and we do supply gloves under this program. And Beautify Londonderry is committed to make sure that this stays an attractive station, and that we keep it well stocked. As a matter of fact, we'll have a stock right there of replacement goods if we have to replace something as we go along. I think in general, everybody is like the idea, everybody except for my wife, because this thing is currently standing next to her washer dryer in our basement, and she's given me another month to either evict that or I'm evicted myself. So we would like to place this in Town Hall somewhere, ideally on the first floor where folks can see it. And we see a great opportunity, again, for folks to go out when maybe it's in between one of our scheduled cleanups. They can go out and do it yourself and grab some stuff. It's a great way to get a little fresh air, perform a little good citizenship, and maybe train if you're taking kids out with you for a little civic responsibility. So
Thank you, John.
thank you.
I appreciate it.
What we're looking to do tonight is maybe get an okay from you folks to place this station. Frankly, we've been caught a little bit in between the town manager changes, et cetera, and we'd like to get this placed on the first floor here if it's at all possible.
Ron, can I have a question? I got a question.
Sure, go ahead. Dan.
I just have a question. So if somebody goes and picks up a vest, picks up a picker, do they keep that or do they bring it back?
Oh, they bring it back.
They bring it back. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
Yeah, we have them bring it back. This would be an honor system.
Right.
Our experience with this, because we put these out when we're doing our roadside cleanups, is folks do bring the stuff back, and we have occasionally things get damaged, and that's just the way it goes.
Gotcha.
But when you compare that, for example, to the cost of having, perhaps the DPW do all this roadside cleanup work that we do,
Right.
it's fairly trivial in terms of the cost. But yes, they'll do it back. What's not pictured on the sign is there'll be signage, there'll be a direction sheet. It'll give the phone number of the DPW so that folks can arrange to have the trash they picked up by the DPW.
Thank you.
I will have the town manager look into placement, because I know before we had talked about doing it on the second floor, and you'd prefer the first floor, correct?
Yeah, we'd
So I
like
will-
to be where the people are,
Yes.
Mr.
I will
Chairman.
ask the town manager to look in to see if there's a spot on the first floor. How's that, John?
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
I just want to say, as one counselor,
Yeah.
I'm absolutely for it on the first floor, because up on the second floor, you're not going to see it. You're not going to know it's there. I mean, the only type of people that really go up to the second floor are the builders and not necessarily residents. And we're looking for the people who are registering their car, registering their dogs, things like that. So that's why I think it would be a good thing on the first floor.
Excellent.
Maybe by town clerk's office or something.
We'll take care of it.
Thank you.
How are you, sir?
Hi, Jason Knights, 9 Hall Road. So I'm here because not sure, I'm kind of at my wit's end on something. I live up in the village part of town, and there is bikes that drag race up and down Delta Drive all weekend long, every night after work that it's not raining. They're there from noon on Saturday till past dark, from April to November. I've lived in this house for 20 years. It's the loudest part of town. You deal with it. You got the airport, you got Mammoth Road, you got 93. But they just came in last spring, and it sounds like you live next to New England Dragway. It is they're screeching tires. They're going up and down. You can even catch them on Harvey Road around like 5:15. They wait by the pet cemetery there for the businesses to let out so that they can go down. And I almost got run off the road one time because I was trying to figure out what that sound was, and bike came flying up doing a wheelie. I've called the police department a couple times, spoken with somebody in person. People I know have called. I don't know. Just they're there every single weekend and every night after work. And I don't know. I'm at my wit's end because it's obnoxious on the
I
weekends.
will ask the town manager to ask himself to look into it.
The deputy chief is seated behind me, and I'm
Okay.
sure he's already wrote it down, and
Awesome.
we'll do some directed patrols.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Awesome.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
When would we hear back on this, Kim? Like, when would you have an idea or a resolve for him? When would Mr. Knight see they hear from you guys? Is it going to be a week, 2 weeks, a month? What's the?
That's unpredictable because you obviously can't tell, but we do have a current investigation open, so I'd rather not say any details into that investigation.
No, but he will hear back from you as well as us.
If you want to give me your name and number, sure.
I don't, honestly, if it stops, I'm fine.
Right.
Like you don't need to.
I
I'd
would
rather
like to
you
know it was done.
went to them
Okay.
than to me.
I can't
So,
give
yeah.
you. I can't give you. a
Well,
time frame
I'm just
on it.
saying, will you give us an update when this is resolved?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
well, the problem with it is we've already made summonses and arrests previously, but they come back. They go away for a little while and then they come back. So, I mean, it's just like speeding, right? You're never going to stop it forever. So it just happens to be a nice little straightaway.
Yeah.
They like to find it. We are currently working the problem, so we'll continue to work the problem.
It just seems like because they're there at the same time at the same place it should be easy, but I don't know. It's
not, because they leave and then they come back and then we chase them out again and then we write summonses for the violations that we do see. But if you don't see it happen in front of you, there's group.
And I know there's a truck that sits out at the beginning of the road. There is a lookout too. So yeah. Okay.
It is being addressed.
Okay. All right. Thank you. All right. Thanks.
Dan, you want to say something?
Yeah, Jason?
Yes, I'm sorry. Yep.
No, is it
Oh,
possible?
wrong Jason. Okay.
Is it possible on June 2nd at our meeting on June 2nd, maybe just give us an update as far as,
Give them some data.
what's going on? Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else with public comment?
I do.
All right.
Good evening. My name is Bob Robichek, 13 Clover Lane, here to speak about the PUD ordinance, since you'll be talking about it later tonight. I want to be very clear, I'm speaking as a private citizen and a resident, not a member of any town board or committee, with 45 plus years of experience in the design and construction industry. The current Londonderry PUD ordinance flexibility is both the strength and weakness of that. It encourages innovation but risks developer overreach due to vague criteria, weak safeguards, optional commitments. Londonderry's growth pressure with its proximity to Manchester in 93 and focus on sewer and water capacity amplifies these issues with our current ordinance. The ordinance aligns loosely with the master plan, the old one, we're still working on a new one, but doesn't leverage the PD to address pressing needs like affordability or environmental protection enough. Compared to nearby Derry or national PUD models and ordinances, Londonderry's PUD rules are less prescriptive, which may favor developers over public interest. Specifically, there are several points I want to make really quickly to address these issues. One is define clear metrics. Specifically, and as an example, specify thresholds like, for example, 30% open space, of which 50% should be permeable, meaning not paved, or 10% affordable housing units as a density bonus to reduce ambiguity in a PUD. Enhance public engagement. Require a minimum of 2, ideally more, public hearings, not at the end, but in the beginning and the middle. 30-day advance notifications and online portals to really let people really weigh in on what's going on with the PUDs. Cap waivers, limit dimensional waivers, such as no height increase beyond 20% of zone standards for that area, and tie them to proportional benefits to the developer. Strengthen environmental rules, mandate CO districts compliance with 100-foot wetland buffers, etc., with no PUD exceptions whatsoever, aligning with Derry standards and several other communities that I've worked with in New Hampshire. Promote affordable housing, require 10% affordable housing units for any density bonus with clear income targets for participating in that affordable housing. Improve enforcement, this is a big one. Require performance bonds and annual compliance reports with penalties for noncompliance, as in Goffstown, New Hampshire, and other communities and other PUD models across the country. So just in conclusion, briefly, our PUD ordinance enables flexibility of development, but has several shortcomings. It's kind of vague criteria in some ways, weak public input for sure, excessive flexibility, iffy, so-and-so inadequate environmental protections, optional affordable housing, and poor mechanisms for enforcement. The last one's the most important. These can lead to developer-driven projects that strain out limited infrastructure, water, sewer in our case, police, fire, harm ecosystems, and neglect housing needs. So my last statement is my suggestion personally, as somebody who's been in the industry for 45 years, is to suspend the implementation of PUDs temporarily until we undergo a thorough review and benchmarking with other New Hampshire towns and national models like Arlington, Virginia, for example, and amend the ordinance with clear metrics, stronger safeguards, robust enforcement that will better serve the community. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. Appreciate it.
Well said.
Anybody else?
I think Ted has something.
Oh, Jason?
Yeah, I have a comment. So you had sent out the agenda and asked for any questions or approvals, and at that time, this item number 11 was not on the agenda. When did that get added?
Correct. It was added on Friday afternoon.
Right, I didn't see that as an addition until just seeing it in the email now. And
It
now
was on
the
Friday
agenda.
afternoon, am I correct?
I didn't know that was being
Yes,
added
it
to the
was.
agenda.
Yeah.
I guess I didn't see from you an ad.
It was,
Yes. So the agenda was posted on the one site Friday afternoon. I took the feedback that was delivered to me through the chief and acting town manager that the chair had it gathered from
yes.
the council, and then that went on the agenda.
I guess I was expecting from you that, there's going to be a change in it. I wasn't expecting that I would have gotten nothing back.
Okay.
And then all of a sudden we see that in the agenda. I just didn't know that was happening tonight. Thank
Okay. Fair enough. It was on Friday's agenda that was posted at 3 o'clock.
you. Yes, I see that. Yes, I was just
But, yeah,
surprised.
I'll do that
because
from
I
now on.
thought there was no changes to the agenda. So thank you.
Yep. Christine?
Ready?
Yes.
Christine Perez, 5 Wesley Drive. I'm going to list a few things for you. Wallace Farms, Phase 2, 72 units. Juniper Ridge, 96. Technology Hill, 440. Lorden Commons, 134 that was finally finished in 2024. Sheffield Place, 36. Rockingham Road, 16. Gilchrist Road, 67. Woodmont, according to their master plan, 1,430. That is 2,287 units being added to our town. That doesn't count any single-family homes, the 21 that are going up in Wynn Estates and other places all over. Right now, in 2023, we had 9,612 units. If we add these 2287, that'll bring us up to 11,899, an increase of 23% in our town. In 2023, our population was 26,708, 2.7 people per household. If we only do 2 people per household, that's going to bring our population to 31,282, up 17% in a matter of just a few more years. Police, fire, DPW, schools, this scares me. Now let's add on top of that the fact that the state has multiple housing ordinances and zoning ordinances that are coming up. We just passed one in the House last week that changed us from 1.5 parking spaces per unit to 1. It used to be for workforce housing. Now it's for any apartment buildings. It's not just for workforce. We have one coming, a temporary moratoria that we're not allowed to do that. Londonderry needs something to help us with our growth. We have ones that coming up that are going to change the lot frontage from 150 to 50. We have ones coming up that's saying you cannot limit the number of houses on a Class 6 road, but they have to sign a waiver in case you can't get in to save their lives. We have them coming up saying that you can't say that anybody can live in any house. And what's happening, I have a friend that lives in Nashua in a beautiful neighborhood. A developer just came in and bought 12 houses and is renting them all. And it's Party City from a nice little quiet. I'm concerned about Londonderry and what's going on in Londonderry. I think we need to look at what's going on and we need to put the brakes on. As far as PUDs, I think we got burned. Personally, I feel we got burned with Woodmont. It is nothing like we were told it was going to be in 2013. I don't see the shops. I don't see the restaurants. I don't see all the things that were promised. And now we have Technology Village that is changing the way we've always done water runoff, and there's nothing that can be done. We need to relook at these things before we jump forward, and especially look at the zoning. And yes, the zoning will affect us. Councilor Faber.
So I have a question
Yeah.
for you. So I looked at the zoning articles. I actually watched the entire day of testimony of those bills. And so you outline in the paper one of these, Senate Bill 84. Can you tell me how that will affect Londonderry?
It won't affect Londonderry because we are within those guidelines already. But it will affect Londonderry in the fact that we will not be able to change it if we wanted to. If we of the town wanted to change those regulations of what we have that are within, similar to House Bill 84, we lose the ability to change. That's how it affects
So
us.
to change that, according to the provisions of Senate Bill 84, we would have to make over 50% of our single-family zoning in town 2 acres. In order to do that,
That's not true.
It is. It's 50% in the bill.
Sean,
And
I'm
other
going to
people can read
dispute
it.
with you
Okay.
because
Okay.
you
But
happen to be
but
you
either-
happen to
either
be
way.
head
All right,
of a
Justine, I'm
group
not
that
gonna
is
go back and
pushing
forth on
these.
that. Okay.
You happen to be the head of a
right.
group that is pushing these bills.
I'm actually not the chair of that group till Saturday either to correct your misinformation.
Guys, address the chair. Don't no back and forth, please.
Okay, well,
Thank you.
that's
you,
not
Christine.
true.
I'm just
Anybody else
gonna-
in public comment? Oh,
just wanted to finish up what I was saying.
Good.
So over 50% of this town would be in non-compliance if the changes happen to that bill. That means if anyone's single-family home burnt down, they would have to not be able to modify bill it under very specific conditions if a zoning ordinance was modified. So if that particular bill that we were just discussing does pass, it actually prevents us from putting zoning in that will harm over half the town of this homeowners if we would ever even go against what we're already doing anyway. There's no reason we would change that zoning.
Anybody else in public comment?
Maureen Hardy, 13 Clover Lane. I would like to request that the PUD ordinance be suspended, either permanently or until it can be updated to correct numerous flaws that are dangerous based on the current state of growth in Londonderry. We may have wanted a PUD ordinance at one time, but now, many years later, it may not fit with all the building currently going on without plans for infrastructure and services to catch up. At least, please suspend until we have impact fee procedures in place. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else in public comment?
I do at some point.
Good evening, counselors. We just wanted to tell you about our 4th annual rabies clinic, which was held last Saturday, the 3rd. It was a success because of many wonderful volunteers that were working behind the scenes and on the day. We raised, in all donations, $1,120.10 that's going to be donated to the Granite State Dog Recovery out of Manchester. When we have lost dogs, problems with different situations with our dogs in town, we often refer to them. They're wonderful, and they've been there for many of our residents. A little shout out, a big shout out actually, to our Londonderry Animal Clinic, Dr. Myrna Gregoria. 4th year in a row, she and her family, her son shows up, Sarah from her office, volunteer their time. Also, she donates all of the vaccinations that are given. We ask for a donation of $20. It's a fee of $20. Many people come in and are just so grateful. We had a woman today that just came in to register her dog and said she was so grateful that the clinic was there because she just can't afford to go to a veterinary center right now because it's so costly, and she was able to come to the clinic for $20. So helps a lot of people out. My wonderful helpers in this, Carol Murphy and Deb DeRochers, and in our entire office. Deb and Carol were there on Saturday, opened the office 9 to 1 so that we could register dogs too. Also, there was a lovely woman named Kelly there of Bully Breeds, volunteered her time for free microchipping. Many people took advantage of that. She could also check to see if your dog was registered. Officer Dave Carver, that we all love, he was there and he brought 5 amazing professional cadets from our police department. Wow, we are lucky. There'll be more great candidates to come. And we always, Katie Sullivan came through again for us, reached out to her. She sent 10 Pay It Forward volunteers. They were amazing, smiles, welcoming everyone. And then Dawn Williams, some of you might know her in our community. She moved a little while back, but she comes back every year with her puppy dog sneakers on to help us, and I think it brings us luck. 56 people showed up with their dogs, and it really was a great day. So I hope I didn't miss anyone. And Deb's going to give you some more information.
We just wanted to give you an update on dog licensing.
Yeah.
We have over 5,000 dogs in the town. That's a lot of dogs, and that's just the ones we know of. So we have 985 dogs left to tag. That is phenomenal. We have never had that low amount at this time of year before. From last year, we have 73 dogs that we still are trying to figure out if they're alive, if they're gone. So that's not too bad, 73. We are trying to promote everyone to either call us, send us an email, give us your email so we can stop putting out the cards. Let's go forward. Let's get paperless. Let's try to get some expenses down. Every little bit helps in the town, whether it's pennies or dollars. It's a substantial amount to mail out these cards and stuff. So if you have an email, we don't give it out to anyone. It's all private information. Please give it to us. We will be coming to the town council meeting on June 2nd with our report we are going to pull the trigger on the civil forfeitures on time this year. I've talked to Sherry. She always wants to wait and wait and wait and wait, and I'm not like that. So we're going to do it $25 every dog if you don't have it done. It's not us, it's the state. It's a mandated state law. We also want to thank for our rabies clinic, we forgot to say, thank you to Poochie's and Honey Dog. They donated some $50 raffles, and we gave those out, and the people were ecstatic, to say the least, that they had won. So it was a really good time Saturday. We had a really good time.
Thanks for everyone's support.
Yep.
We know you were all there with us, too, which means a lot. It takes a village, so
It does.
thank you.
I think the emails do help, guys. It's very good.
It
Got me
really
there,
does.
so.
On our car registrations
Thank you.
and everything.
Appreciate it, guys. Thank you.
So thank you.
Tony DeFrancesco, One Cheshire Court. My arm still hurts a little bit from that rabies shot, but it's getting better. The distemper isn't getting any better, though. Little point, just a little help for Sherry. For those who don't know that are listening or watching, whatever, Katie Sullivan is one of the assistant principals at the high school, and the Pay It Forward Club is a group of high school only, I believe, high school only students that do stuff throughout the community all year long. This just happened to be one of them. And it's just a tremendous program that has a lot of kids in it. I want to talk a little bit about the PUD thing that was a last-minute entry to today's event. I will say that I think it's a great idea to have the conversation. I think it's a great idea for you all to come to some kind of consensus of where you're at. But I think also that you need to be cautious and that you need to follow the process or follow up process. You have a professional staff that has professional training and education on this subject. You have a planning board that's done quite a bit of study that needs to be able to weigh in. Obviously, public hearings, which I know you'll have, no question about that. But I just wanted to weigh in to say, great idea having a little mini workshop amongst yourselves to have a chat about. But let's be sure that you follow the process, go through town staff, and take it from there. So thank you. Appreciate
Thank you, Tony. Anybody else for public comment? More?
Maura Ryan, 2 Snowberry Hollow, Londonderry. I just have a suggestion on the PUD and the growth. Maybe you guys can do a survey, because I know when you guys did the master plan survey, a lot of residents expressed a lot of concern about the growth. And my understanding, well, I don't know that the public necessarily understands a lot about the PUD, and I think they would want to know before anything happens. So maybe you guys can do a survey and get some feedback from the constituents.
All right.
Thank you.
Maura. Anybody else for public comment? Seeing none, I will close public comment. Next up is board appointments and reappointments. We have interview here for a trustee of the trust fund. And Linda Green.
Good evening, counselors. Thank you for taking the time to talk with me tonight. My name is Linda Green, 22 Sugar Plum Lane, Londonderry, and I applied to finish out the term that my late husband was elected to as a trustee of the trust fund. One of the things he said, they were talking to him about end-of-life care, and he said, "I've got to make it until the 11th so I can win an election." And then I reminded him, "But Dad, you're running unopposed." And he goes, "Oh, yeah." So I wish he'd been there to be able to appreciate. He did win an election finally. He kept running as a representative and losing, but he kept losing by less, so that was a comfort. So I'm here today to answer any questions you might have.
Does anybody have any questions? No. I think we're
good.
We're good with.
I'd like to make a motion to accept Linda Green as the trustee.
I have a motion from Sean. Do I have a second? Second from Ted. All those in favor of appointing Linda, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Chair's affirmative.
Thank you very much
Thank
for
you
your
for
trust.
volunteering to
Thank you.
do that. Thank you very much. Next up, we have a applicant for the. Hold on here. Out of order here. For the Recreation Committee, and it's Michael Campo.
Aren't there two applicants for that?
Yes, there are, sir. Yep. Michael's the first. I'll call Michael first. Thank you.
Hello.
Hello.
Mike Campo. I am very involved right behind here at the LAFA complex. I run the softball side of it. In addition, in my free time, I'm also the state commissioner for Babe Ruth softball. I am on the booster club for Londonderry softball. It's funny, I always started on the baseball side, and 3 daughters will quickly shift you over to the other side. I remember somebody coming up and saying when my oldest was up at LAFA doing T-ball, "I think we need to get you in the softball side." I said, "I think you're crazy." Things have certainly changed, though. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Anybody have any questions for Michael?
I mean, certainly you have a shortage of experience with recreation. I'm not sure where to begin here. You're over 20 years experience in recreation and developing sports programs.
Scary
and
when you
moving
say
them
that.
forward.
I don't really consider it to be 20 years, but I guess so.
It's pretty impressive.
Well, thank
I think
you.
It would be hard for me to not accept you as a person for the rec program, and as well to hopefully replace your father on the committee.
Any thoughts that you'd like to bring forward, like new ideas?
I have so many ideas. You don't have time for them, actually.
One, give me one. Just
you know
one.
what? One, I would love to see a summer camp for baseball and softball at LAFA. The problem we have is that we're volunteer-based. That's something I'd like to work with the rec commission, and where the revenue can go to the town. LAFA doesn't need it, but offer something to the kids who want a little bit more. I think that in today's day and age, we're so far shifted towards the travel aspect of sports that we lose those kids who just want to show up and play for the season. So I know as my role as the state commissioner, I'm working to create summer leagues for those kids who just want to play from, June to the end of July. So I think to try to reach out and reach more of those types of kids would be important, and not just the travel kids.
So that would also include like middle school age, so you'd be forming a
You know
feeder
what?
system?
The summer league that I'm talking about was specifically created for those middle school kids. What I've seen across the state is a lot of high school programs don't have JV teams anymore. And it's because at age 10, we ask a kid and a family to say, are you willing to commit financially as well as give up your entire summer to play this sport? And a lot of families just either financially can't, or summer-wise, they don't want to. And I respect that. So to your point, yes, for the middle school, I think it's important to offer something for those kids that if they want to continue to play, that we give them that opportunity.
Yeah, we just need a good feeder system.
Yeah.
Because we had an amazing group of girls last year.
I'm proud to say that group last year, I was a coach that brought them up from age 8 all the way up through 12. And
Kudos
I have a
to
daughter
you.
in that group. And not to me, they're a remarkable group of young ladies who really care for each other. They push each other, and the level of accountability they hold each other to is outstanding.
Thank you.
Anybody else have questions?
I don't have any questions, but I want to make a comment too, Michael. I remember when you were just a little guy, all right? Seeing you with your father out there, volunteering all the time at the Laffa Fields throughout the community. I think it's great that you're stepping up and, want to fill your dad's position.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Anybody else? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
The next applicant is Jeremy Miller.
My name is Jeremy Miller, 442 Mammoth Road here in Londonderry. I'm here to apply for the position of Recreation Commission. I was until I just heard the previous applicant, and I think I would respectfully withdraw myself from consideration. I think that it's obvious that you have
We
the right
actually have
candidate.
two open spots.
Hold
I'm
on.
sorry?
Yes.
I was only told there was one.
Hold that thought 1 second. I'm just going to defer to Kirsten real quick.
Hi, yes. So I was going to bring this up afterwards. I am putting forward to request that the council consider adding an additional alternate position to this commission. So this commission is a 5-member commission, but because of the nature of youth sports, of schedules, it can often be difficult to find a quorum, to achieve a quorum when most needed. So I was respectfully asking the council to consider appointing a third alternate position as well, bringing the total alternates to 3 to allow for Director Artselides and Assistant Director Cole to more often have a functional quorum at the meeting.
So if you hold on thought one quick, I'm going to ask the council a question. How does the council feel about adding an alternate?
I'm all for it.
I'm good for it.
I'm good.
So we're going to add 1 or 2. You said
Just
2.
one more alternate.
One
There's
more
already
alternate.
2. We would just respectfully ask
Do you
for
need a
one
vote
more.
or just a consensus?
Just a consensus.
Okay.
Yep.
So go ahead, sir.
Well, that being said, I will withdraw my withdrawal.
Okay.
It's obvious that you had a very good candidate
Yes.
before, and I didn't want to water down what you had. But I do bring a great deal of experience in both the recreation and sports fields, as well as business and public service. I've been on the board member of Concord Northeast, Cal Ripken softball, Cal Ripken baseball, as well as New Hampshire Lightning softball in Concord, Capital City football in Concord. I'm fairly new to Londonderry within the last 5 years, but I've really grown to love this town. I'm a member of Rotary, of Knights of Columbus. I'm a director of a development from the nonprofit, but I do have a legal background. And it would be my honor to help serve on this commission and use my experience and knowledge to give back to the town.
Any questions for Jeremy?
No, I think he'd be a wonderful asset to the community.
I hope that you can bring some of your fundraising and ideas forward.
I have a great deal of experience in that as well, too, and be happy to.
Yeah.
Thank you,
very
sir.
much.
Thank you.
All right, I'll bring it back to the council.
I will make a motion to appoint Michael Campo for the 1 2-year full member position and Jeremy Miller as the 1 2-year alternate position.
Second.
Motion by Ted, second by Dan. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Chair votes in the affirmative. Thank you both. I believe you both have to see the clerk.
Senior resource.
Yep. Next up, I have a applicant for Senior Resource Committee, Kelly McShane. How are you, Kelly?
Good. How are you? So, hi, my name's Kelly McShane. I live very happily on 4 Rolling Ridge Road with my husband and son, and I'm looking for ways to give back to the town. I am the assistant director for Andover Elder Services in Andover, Massachusetts. I've been there for 5 years, heavily involved with all their programs, events, as well as transportation, nutrition, and our social day program. So, using my professional experience, hoping to bring some ideas and resources here to Londonderry.
Any questions for Kelly from the council?
I think she'd be a great asset. And certainly, you don't normally fit the demographic that's usually part of the Senior Resource Committee. But
I thought that would come up, yeah.
Yeah. As I said, normally. But I think having your expertise and where you work will bring a lot of benefit to the community and to the community as a whole.
Thank you.
I know that we're looking to try to make the meetings at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Is that going to be a problem?
No, I'm flexible in Andover. I work late on Thursday nights, which allows me to have flexibility. So
great. Thank you.
I think I can accommodate.
Question. Anybody else with a question? Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll bring it back to the council.
I'll make a motion to accept Kelly McShane for the Senior Resource Committee position.
I have a motion by Ted.
Second.
Second by Sean. I heard Sean first. All those in favor of appointing Kelly, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Chair votes in the affirmative. Thank you, Kelly. And see the clerk. I'll make a motion to open the public hearing.
You have to close public comment.
Sorry,
I thought we did.
we did close it. I did close it.
We did?
Yep.
Okay.
I'll accept the motion to open public hearing.
So moved.
Motion by Ted.
Second.
Second by Sean. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes in the affirmative. First on the agenda is municipal code relating to sewer ordinance and sewer use charges ordinance. How are you, sir?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair and Council. I understand this is the second reading. There was some information given the last meeting. I was hoping to recap that information and package it up maybe a little bit different to try and explain how we've been on this journey to get where we are today, which is to adopt a change in the user charge fees for merely the access fee, which is that one-time charge. So just a little recap again, a reminder to everyone that all sewer-related costs are drawn from the Sewer Enterprise Fund. So there's no sewer-related costs drawn from the general fund, which means there's no tax impact to what we're discussing tonight. Sources of income from the Sewer Enterprise Fund, there's basically two of them. One is the quarterly sewer user charge that everybody on sewer pays a fee. The user charge rates for that are very straightforward. We generate them every quarter, so it's pretty easy to keep track of are they adequate or not. The sewer access fee, on the other hand, is the fee for new connectors, new connections to the sewer system. And it's a one-time charge based on gallons per day of the design flow for whatever that facility is capable of producing to the sewer. The rate determination is a much more complicated process. There's many variables and they can change over time. Therefore, we need that periodic review to ensure sufficient income. And that periodic review occurs when we review and update our wastewater facility plan. So the last updated in 2005, the wastewater facility plan, we did review it again, and it takes into account the developments of the sewer infrastructure and any new developments since 2005. It evaluates the existing and future wastewater needs. We want to confirm the accuracy of the access fee determination process, and we want to therefore assure adequate funding for collecting what we need to for these needs. Now, in 2005, I'm going to give you a couple of numbers here. So we were looking at a total cost for future needs. That was infrastructure construction. That was also treatment fees from either the Derry or the Manchester plants. In 2005, we looked at $19.53 million, and we had an anticipated future flow, which we needed to pay for. And when you basically figured the cost per gallon, it came out to $16.51, which you'll see up on that screen there. That's the current one. In 2005, doing an extensive study, and by the way, that was a 100-page report. It took us basically years to do because situations kept changing as we went. We're looking at $18.97 million in construction and treatment costs, which is a change down of $560,000. So a little less money. The future additional flow that we're projecting now from all the development that's coming up is 1.55 million gallons per day, which is an increase of 370,000 gallons. So what has happened is we've actually got a little less money that we have to collect spread out over a lot more flow, so your cost per gallon per day decreases. Hence, that's what we concluded, that it was appropriate to drop the access fee down from $16.51 to $12.24 and still maintain the desired collection that we needed. So the plan was summarized was basically summarized and presented to the wastewater, where am I? Sorry. The plan was presented to the Utilities Committee's Sewer and Solid Waste Subcommittee back on August 3rd of 24. They then presented it to the Main Utilities Committee on August 6th of 24. An email was from the town manager to the town manager was dated August 21st, 2024, from the chairman of the Utilities Committee, reporting that the subcommittee had voted, quote, voted unanimously to update the plan. It had merit and worthy of both the town manager and town council's favorable consideration. The town staff presented and summarized the updated wastewater facility plan, which contained that recommendation to drop that fee back on September 6, 2024. At that time, the council voted in favor of approving that wastewater facilities plan. But we're here tonight to implement the revision of that sewer user rate and the sewer access fee. And between, as you could say, between September 16th and now, we had the budget season, we had a miserable winter, we had a number of things, we've had staff changes, and that's why it really didn't concern us until late, because we hadn't really collected any access fees, but now we have received a few payments. Our intention is to go back and have the effective date of the time when the council, which was the 16th of September, and use that as a date when the new rate would be effective, which means we will make good and go back to some of these fees that we've collected and reimburse them for the difference. Seems only fair to do that, since it's been there, but we just couldn't get back to do it. And that's basically where we are today.
Okay. Any questions from the council?
I just want to say that I spoke in length with Bob about this because I was concerned about the rate changing from 16 to 12, and I was like, things don't drop. Well, you know, everything increases, but he was really good about explaining as far as the infrastructure, what has to be paid for, what we're looking for in the future and everything. And if we ever were challenged by a developer, that this would be much more desirable to defend for the town. So thank you, Bob.
Thank you.
This is a public hearing, so anyone from the public wish to speak? Seeing none, I will bring it back to the council. I will accept the motion.
So I move to approve the intermunicipal agreement with the town of Derry as amended and authorized. Is that?
Yep.
Other one.
Nope. Oh, that's the next one. Sorry.
Sorry.
No, so sorry.
I'll be back.
That's the second.
Ordinance 2025-2.
Okay. So I move to, I make a motion to approve ordinance 2025-2.
A motion from Sean, second from Ted. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Chair votes in the affirmative. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Motion to close public comment. Public hearing. Motion to
So
close.
moved.
Motion by Ted, second by Dan. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Chair votes in the affirmative. New business. Londonderry Arts Council update.
Good evening.
Good evening.
How are you?
I'm very, very well, thank
Good.
you. Good to see you. Thank you for having us here tonight. I'm Larry Casey. I'm the chair of the Londonderry Arts Council. I'm joined by Stephen and Julie Lee. Stephen is a member of the Arts Council. Julie is a volunteer, and they are the main drivers of the Londonderry Concerts on the Common. And they'll be speaking in a minute. But first, I want to speak to a new initiative that we've undertaken, which is a digital literary and art journal that we're calling Wild Apples. And it fits into the mission of the Arts Council, which is to enrich the quality of life here in Londonderry through the arts. And we do that by providing opportunities for artists and community members to get together and share, like-minded experiences. And we do that through programming that really doesn't cost the citizens, aside from some support we get from the town for Concerts on the Common. We put on free events, so we usually do not charge fees for these sorts of things. So the inception of Wild Apples goes back a couple of years ago. One of our key members, Dasha Bulatova, came up with the idea, and based on her experience in prior roles, thought it would be a great way to bring artists together, artists, writers, and other creative individuals together through one platform and vehicle to create an opportunity to share their talent. Dasha is I think she moved to Londonderry about 4 or 5 years ago, but she's a poet, she's a translator, she's a musician. She has an MFA in poetry from San Francisco State University, and she has served on the editorial staff for the Berkeley Fiction Review, 14 Hills, and Best American Non-Required Reading organizations. So she's well qualified to drive this initiative and is the chief editor of this publication. We started soliciting input and work from contributors back in the fall, and vetted a number of entries, and we are ready to go to press or to publish the first edition of Wild Apples, which would include almost 40 artists, writers, and other creative individuals from Londonderry and surrounding areas. We're very excited about the caliber of the work that we're going to be presenting through this, and look forward to getting that underway. It's scheduled to go to, although it's a digital publication, it's scheduled to go to print for a limited run because we think it'll be valuable to have probably 50 hardcover publications available. We're planning to give all of you, town councilors, members of the town staff, and also have editions available at the library as well. So the type of art that's represented in this publication is poetry, prose, photography, illustrations, paintings, mixed media, and more, including one song and recording that is included. We're planning to have a launch celebration on May 17th from 4 to 6 p.m. at the Parmenter Barn at the Historical Society ground. We've invited the artists that contributed work, obviously members of our Arts Council. The public is welcome, and we welcome all of you to join in that celebration as well. So we're excited to launch this. We're thinking that this is going to be an annual publication. We've learned a lot going through this first cycle in terms of how to, get in contact with the artists and get them interested in participating. And we've gone through the process of organizing the material and making sure that it's up to our standards with Dasha's guidance. So we're excited about all of that. Happy to answer any questions that anybody might have on that.
Larry,
questions
what
from the
time?
council?
He forgot the time. What time? On May 17th.
4 to 6, 4
Thank
p.m.
you
to
very
6.
much.
Yep. Any other questions? All right.
I just want to say thank you, Larry. I think what you guys are doing with that literary magazine is quite impressive.
Great. Thank you, Ted. I appreciate that. So now I'd like to bring up Stephen and Julie, and they're very excited about the upcoming season, and we'll get you up to speed on that. Thank you.
Good evening. Thank you for having us tonight. I'm Stephen Lanes. My wife, Julie. We're 10 Darrow Way. We just wanted to give you a quick update on the concerts for this summer. They're coming up shortly. The first concert is June 4th. as you can see on the slide. And we always start with the high school jazz ensembles, which is great. It's the last concert for the seniors. I wanted to just state our mission is community, great music, and summer evenings, and preferably dry summer evenings. This is our 23rd season. We get support from the community, from community partners, including the town, school district, police, fire, DPW, Alert, the churches, vendors, and exhibitors. We are also blessed with a host of wonderful volunteers, which really helps to bring this thing together, make it happen. Just quickly, the value of the concerts. Our free concerts allow individuals and families of limited means to enjoy a picnic supper in a beautiful setting while listening to an exceptional musical performance, an experience that might otherwise be financially out of reach in commercial venues like Tupelo or the Palace. In our report let's just say that we've done an estimate of the average ticket price for a comparable performance of our groups, and it's about $29. And so if you multiply that out for the 12 concerts and a family of 4, that is a value of $13,092. So I think it adds a lot of value to the town of Londonderry. Our website is concertsonthecommon.org. concertsonthecommon.org. However, we mainly communicate with our audience through our Facebook and Instagram pages, which are both at Concerts on the Common. We currently have almost 3,300 Facebook followers, and we've also recently added a new page to our website listing the historical concert schedules. There are links to concert photos for practically all of the concerts, too, and so we encourage folks to visit this page to get a sense of how the concerts have evolved and grown over the years. So, to the meat of it, we have a great lineup of performers for this summer, and we wanted to highlight that, they're coming up shortly. One that we'd like to highlight is a band called Couch, and I know you're saying Couch. But believe me, they're fantastic. They did play for us last year. This is an international touring a band. My brother and his wife are flying from St. Paul, Minnesota to see them, so he doesn't do that very often. Really good. So anyway, that's just one that we'd like to highlight, but the Linda Ronstadt Experience played for us 2 years ago. Schedules didn't mesh last year, but they're back. East Coast Soul last year, and they're just a standout 10-piece band, 3 lead singers. Who's got next? Cool. This is a band that it's a little complicated. It's a band that backs up some of the Talking Heads band members when they go out to tour. So the bottom line is two female lead singers, just a really rocking band. They're going to be new for us this year, but from everything we've seen and heard, they're going to be fantastic. Bruce Marshall Group, this is Larry's favorite band, and they are back. They didn't come back last year after, I think, 11 years or something like that. He's from Maine, and so it was getting to be a bit much, but he wanted to come back this year, and we were happy to have him. Steve Blunt and Friends. This is Concerts on the Common for Kids. This is a collaboration we're doing again this year for the second time with Leach Library, and it's on a Saturday. It's in the afternoon. This is obviously for little kids, and so we're trying to get a time that's more appropriate for them. And last year it was a big hit, so we're looking forward to this year too. Brian Mace Band and his wife Mary Beth just rock. It really is. They've been called Boston Rock Royalty. Brian plays with the lead guitar player from the former lead guitar player from the band Boston, and they just knock it out of the park every year. We always have them back. Chicago Total Access was a big hit last year, even though they were inside the high school cafeteria, which is where we go when it's bad weather. The place was packed. We have never packed that before, but super popular. So we're hoping they're going to be outdoors this year. Delta Generators, Brian Templeton has played at more concerts than anyone. If you go and look at those photos, start the first year, I think he was the first or second year he started playing for us. Fantastic blues artist, used to live in Londonderry, and the band he's with, the Delta Generators, just top notch. Martin and Kelly back for after
5 years.
They've been coming like 5 years or something. And again, just standouts in the country music scene. They're fantastic. I'm looking forward to them. Studio 2, we always we've been ending with Beatles cover band for the past several years, and we had over 900 people, well, almost 1,000 people last year.
That we counted.
That we counted.
We missed some.
Yeah, we missed some. So, anyway, my wife Julie.
Julie Lee, 10 Darrowway. I just wanted to point out as well, we do have a poster in the back, and that's actually a poster that will go to Market Basket because they've been a sponsor of ours for 18 years, and they put that in their vestibule to, for everyone to see. So my discussion points are that we do encourage community, and as a result, for that, we are having free line dancing lessons, free country line dancing lessons before Martin and Kelly, and that is the August 6th. We did this last year, and it was a big hit. We'd like to get more participation this year, but it really is, it's fun to just a half hour before the show, come and learn some dances, whatever. Volunteer programs. So we have a lot more volunteers helping us out with concerts over the last few years. And one of the things that has helped is the folks at Great New Hampshire Restaurants has donated $600 worth of gift cards just for our volunteers. So the way we set it up is if you volunteer to help with 4 concerts through the season, then you get a $25 gift card. And a lot of our volunteers have actually gotten 3 or 2 multiple gift cards because they just help every single concert, all 12. Our food trucks are back, One Happy Clam. Our ice cream truck is back, Timeless Treats. And our middle schooler, Kristen, is back with Kernels for College. I think she started when she was 9, and she's in middle school now. So we're very proud of Kristen. She has a popcorn and lemonade for sale every concert. We have free weekly raffles, and this is something that is super popular and has grown over the years. We have right now we've got $25, a $25 gift card for every concert. So 12 gift cards donated by the 99. And we thank George over there at the 99 for that. And then Tom Esty also has donated a $35 gift card for every concert. And these are free raffles. Everybody gets a raffle ticket, which actually then informs our attendance numbers. And so Estes is $35 for every single week, 12 gift cards. And that really helps a lot. And it's a very popular thing.
I just wanted to briefly touch on our budget. Our budget for the season is a little over $40,000. We continue to fund the band for the Old Home Day concert also. That we took that over in 2019. Funding is approximately 28% from the town, 20% from the New Hampshire Council for the Arts. We get an Arts for Community Engagement grant through them. And 52% comes from local businesses and family sponsors. And I'd like to note that for the 5th year, Larry Casey, right there, and Steph Millville have put in a lot of hard work and time to get this Arts for Community Engagement grant. The grant has a huge impact on our ability to get top-notch performers for the concerts, and the state of New Hampshire has thanked Larry and Steph for setting the bar on their exceptional reporting for the grant. It's unbelievable what they do. We have 40 sponsors this year. It's up from 36 last year. This is a wonder, and it's wonderful to see this level of community involvement in the concerts. This year, we are highlighting in our the program that we hand out to everyone just how long many of the sponsors have been supporting the concerts, because some have been from the very beginning, which is amazing. So anyway, any questions?
Any questions from the council?
I want to say really thank you for putting together the kids concert that you guys did last year. I'm glad to see it's back again this year.
Well, that was initiated by the library, so
that's great.
We're more than happy to. Yeah,
well,
we're more
thank
than
you
happy
for
to help
working with them. It was a big hit. There's a lot of people there, and thankfully we had beautiful weather for it. So thank you. Certainly looking forward to a great season.
Yeah, should be a lot of fun.
I had the pleasure of attending one of the rained out sessions, and I will say, even in the school, as much as it's nice to be outside, it's still great. concert. You still do a good job doing that indoors, and it's just a
Thank
wonderful
you.
experience.
Yeah, performers are fabulous. Yeah.
Any other questions or comments?
I just want to say thank you for everything you guys do for our community. I think it's great. I mean, it brings the community together, and that's what Londonderry's been about for years.
That's
So
the
thank you.
idea.
I know it's a lot of work.
Thank you both. We appreciate it. Thank you. Next up on the agenda, we have the municipal agreement with the town of Derry. And Bob, you're back.
Yeah.
Wow.
I'll say one thing. That concert description is really a tough act to follow. Okay, I got a
This will be just as riveting.
dry intermunicipal agreement to talk about. So anyway, the history behind this. This is an intermunicipal agreement that we've had with the town of Derry. We've had agreements with them for years. For instance, it's updated periodically as time goes on. It was updated in 1981. It was updated in 1991, 2021, 2023, and now we're back here in 25 for that. I can tell you that there were fundamental changes. Usually it was the quantity of water that we were sending to Derry. That's really what it was. In 2021, that's when we went from a very antiquated method of determining the fee for additional capacity beyond 200,000 gallons a day. That was a step in the right direction, and they allowed us to go up to 500,000 gallons a day in 21. 23 was just really housekeeping items with very engineering detailed constituencies and wastewater strength things. In 25, what we're doing this time is we're going to increase, what's happening, they're proposing to increase the maximum daily flow from a current 500,000 gallons up to 750,000 gallons. The highlights of that, it basically how that's going to happen is it extends the current annual incremental capacity allocation of 25,000 gallons per year another 10 years for the 250. So that's already in the schedule of those payments of 25,000 a year is already in the old one, the 2023 one. So we're really just extending it out another 10 years. That's one of the biggest differences. As previously, Londonderry shall continue to be considered an individual user by the town of Derry, subject to the same future sewer usage rate adjustments of all customers in Derry. That's been the norm since it was started. The new one today is they're asking, or they're requiring a 15% surcharge that will be applied to Derry's billing to Londonderry. Now, just clarification on that, we have two discharge points to Derry. One of them is our Charleston pump station down on Charleston Ave, where a pump station pushes in a pressure pipe and sends it over to Derry. The other spot, and there's a flow meter there. So we read that flow meter, they determine the quantity per quarter that goes through there, and we're charged for that by their standard rates. The other location is over at Action Boulevard near the auto auction. There's a smaller pump station there, it does the same thing. It pumps it into a pressure pipe and it goes to Derry's treatment plant. Same idea there. So Londonderry always gets two bills every quarter. What's going to happen is they're going to put a 15% surcharge on the two bills to Londonderry. The good news is we've accounted for that in our budget for fiscal year 25 and 26. It represents about a 2% increase in our sewer usage line item, which is like $1.6 million. So it's nothing that we can't handle. We have it budgeted in there. So because of that, there is going to be no change to the Londonderry sewer user charges to the Londonderry customers. That was a very important thing we had to take a look at because it didn't seem fair to charge the Londonderry residents that are going to Derry a different charge. So that is not going to happen. It's going to be the same user charges all the way through. And the IMA was actually, the intermunicipal agreement was actually adopted by Derry back on March 4th of this year. So we have signed originals here. And I think the plan is, or the requirement would be that the chairman Mr. Chairman has to sign it, and also town manager, acting town manager would have to sign it. And we can get it back there and just formalize the arrangement. Any questions?
Any questions from the council?
Do you know, have they provided data, how many thousands of gallons that we're using per day right now? I know we've requested an additional amounts, but...
Yeah, right now we're up around like 220 or 230,000 gallons a day goes to dairy. When I started 15 years ago, it was barely 100.
Right.
So it is climbing, and you know our projected flows for the developments throughout the town, not only basically everywhere within that corridor of where the information where the flows go to dairy, indicates that on the west side of I-93 we'll be close to that 500,000. This extra 250,000 is really for the east side of I-93, which is the 4A area. And we had to come up with some way to accommodate that. And the first negotiations didn't go well. I'll just say it that way. It was basically things that the town could not absorb. The town could not do. They came back with very much more reasonable requests on what it, and it manifested itself as this 15% surcharge.
Do you know how much capacity the facility can handle? Have they told you that at least?
That is an interesting question. I mean, technically, the facility can handle 4 million gallons if everything goes right, but there are issues where when they reach 80%, they have to then produce a report and go to the state about the feasibility of even continuing to have that type of a treatment plant. The treatment plant works. It's called a lagoon treatment plant.
Yep.
It does its job, but as future requirements are there, it may not do its job. So that's something. We're nowhere near that right now. They're nowhere near that either.
So they could potentially do 4, but you're saying when they hit 80%, which is 3.2 million gallons a day, they'd have to do this potential report. Do you know what they're usually hitting?
That's what they're hoping. They don't have to do for a while, if that makes sense.
Right. I guess my question is do we know what they are hitting?
Oh, what they're hitting? I'm sorry, I didn't quite hear that. I think they're in the close to 2 million.
2 million?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we're just a spit, pretty much that.
Right.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's another 1.2 that they could potentially do before hitting those kind of reports.
Exactly. So
it's
time is on our side,
right,
as far as something like that.
So that's good to know. Thank you.
Any other questions from the council?
I'd just like to say thank you for all your work on this. When it comes to sewer, it's not the most interesting subject, but it's definitely so important to this town. So thanks.
It's kind of the out of sight, out of mind. Out of sight, out of mind. Nobody understands what's really happening. I shouldn't say nobody, but the general public generally has no idea what has to happen behind the scenes and underground to make it all happen. So appreciate that.
Yes.
I do have one more question for Bob.
Sure.
Do you know what kind of pipes are in the ground and what capacity they can handle and what kind of temperatures of water they can handle?
With pipes where, first of all?
I guess pipes that are leading to the facility that are there now. I mean, for example, if there was a user that went into the future development that you have on the map here that was putting out hotter water, would the pipes be able to handle that?
Our ordinances, both dairies and ours, have a limit on the temperature that they can be. They would have to do, if it was too hot, they would have to do some treatment or remediation before they could even introduce it in.
Technology. Yep.
Same thing with the wastewater strengths.
Yep.
Things we worry about are pH. You know, if you have a very low pH acidic, that can damage pipe. It can also really mess up the treatment process.
Right.
So there are ordinances in there, and we do keep an eye on that. Any industries, we do basically register them, and they are issued a permit, and we have the right to go in and inspect the facilities and make sure the sampling is done. So we keep an eye on the industries.
Is that temperature in this contract?
Temperature is, the plastic pipe can go up to 150, 160 degrees without
so it's plastic pipe.
With that. Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
It won't melt.
Any further discussion
Depends on the water.
Yeah.
I just want to say thank you, Bob, for all your time. I mean, you and I have spent a lot of time on this, discussing. Being
Well-
a new counselor, I was like, all right, educate me a little bit about our sewer system.
That's
he's been really helpful.
our pleasure. Really, the more people are familiar with what we do, the easier it is for everybody. So
Thank
we do
you.
appreciate that.
Any other comments? I will accept a motion to accept the intermunicipal agreement with the town of Derry for wastewater service.
So I move to approve the intermunicipal agreement with the town of Derry as amended and authorize the town manager and council chair to sign the agreement.
Second.
Motion by Sean, second by Ted. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Chair votes in the affirmative. Thank you, Bob.
Thank you very much.
Next up is a fiscal update from Justin. Thank you, sir.
Before Justin gets going,
Yeah.
I just had one quick item for amending for the minutes.
Sure.
I know Mr. Lee had spoken about how much it was going to cost a family of four for the concerts. I think he was off by a zero by accident. He had said $13,920 and it's $1,392. $29 on a family of four for all the concerts.
Thank you, Ted. Justin, sir, when you're ready.
Good evening. As you guys have requested, I'm here to provide a financial update for fiscal year 25. I want to first note that this presentation was not made available in the agenda till about 4:30, maybe a little after. And one of the things I want to talk about is potentially finding a way to prevent that from happening. Where April ended on Wednesday, essentially that means all the things will be posted, reviewed, or not all, but a good chunk of them on Thursday, which leaves me just Friday to try and prepare everything and get it all going. So if we were to move this to the second meeting, I would have time to get you that, because the option essentially became go with March, go with a random day in April, which I would have picked probably the last final full week, or do it on a Monday and rush it out like we did. I chose to get the most information out there, so we went through April 30th rather than have a month off or be missing a week and have to explain why we're missing a week. So if you guys are okay with that, I think it'll prevent this from occurring again, where this gets added to the agenda at about 4:30 on the
So
Monday.
you'd prefer to be the second meeting of the month?
Correct. That way I can give you the previous month's information, and it's not, I mean, if the previous month ends on a Monday,
Yep.
I should be able to get it no problem, but where it ends Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, it's going to be this type of situation.
Any objection to that from the council? No. All right, Justin. I think it's good. Good to go.
All right, so I'm going to provide a little bit of an explanation here. These figures represent the town's unaudited estimated financial status as of April 30th, 2025. This is the 304th day of the year of our 365 fiscal year. It's about 83.06%. These figures are subject to change based on the actuals as they occur. And it's important to keep in mind that large gross appropriations, such as the water project warrant article we had, are added to the adjusted budget, and due to the nature of the project, you likely won't see those expenses until the upcoming or next fiscal year. And this leads to, if you just look at it at face value, inaccurate statements on where we are financially. So I've tried my best to reflect that, to eliminate that portion out. But I wanted to make sure that we were aware so you understand where we are in terms of everything. In the item I gave you, there will be a couple different budget titles. It'll be the original budget. This is what was approved as the operating budget or default budget, should that have passed, at the March election. The adjusted or amended includes the fiscal year's budget that was passed, along with any monetary warrant articles that were approved by the voters during that time. And the remaining budget represents the budget that is left for the department for the remainder of the fiscal year. Actual expenditures and known AP expenditures. Actual expenditures, they're the ones that have already been incurred and are currently posted to our general ledger system. Known AP expenditures, this includes items, but it does not include payroll and benefits expenses. It only includes accounts payables that we would know about to try and accurately reflect where we are at this point of the year. I give you a couple examples here where we know we have a large finance payment that's due in June, where if I were to not include that, you would think that one of the departments has a significant budget remaining for the year where we know it's earmarked for that. Road maintenance, our DPW can't do road work in winter. So again, we know that's coming. I've included things like that. These are the estimated expenses. So you'll notice that for the most part, everybody is currently in good shape. Legal is obviously over budget at this point.
What about the town council one? What happened there?
That is likely your legal notices and other items such as.
So does legal fall under the legal line, or does it fall under the town council?
Depends on what department is requesting the
Okay.
notice.
So
that was likely the budgetary, deliberative, and things of that nature, and the expenses
Okay.
associated with hosting those events.
Okay. Because, yeah, when I look at legal being over, I'm just curious where that kind of all breaks down, but I'm not asking
Legal
that
is,
question.
yep, legal is our legal fees for attorneys for various items.
Yep.
I was thinking it might have been like differences with FICA and that kind of stuff.
Nope.
Okay.
Insurance with the open positions we have, you can see that that is looking healthy due to those positions. And again, you'll see that everybody is currently planned to be underexpended for those departments. And this is kind of what I was highlighting at before. If you were to look at just the total, because of the water project, it would look like we are 53% expended with 2 months left. That's not the case. That 24.6 million or 23 million, because roadway and expendable maintenance are also included in that. It's in there, but that's going to carry forward to the next year as the project develops and be charged to it. If you look, you'll see a negative 750 remaining budget for transfer to capital reserves. That is the expense for conservation, just as an example of the other side. You look like you have a question.
I'm just a little confused.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Because you're going very fast and I'm trying to figure it out.
Sorry.
It's okay.
So essentially what I was trying to indicate is the way governmental budgeting works, we have to gross appropriate for the project with the understanding that the project has a lifespan that may not be within this fiscal year. However, with our budgetary items and the DRA, how they want us to report it, we have to report it as the budget for this fiscal year. So when we had the warrant article for Gilcrest, we had that 750 appropriation that goes to the conservation accounted for in a previous year. So while it looks like we are overspent, that previous appropriation, when I go to fill out the DRA forms, will be addressed as a prior year budget warrant article. So my concern with why I wanted to highlight all this is if you look at just totals, it looks like we're 53% spent with only 2 months remaining, which that's not the case. If you look below, you'll see the operating budget, which takes those out of it, and you'll see we're at 81.08.
Okay. And on the legal line, I heard you say it, but I just... Does each department have legal and then you do a total?
Yes.
So is there a way to break it down so we can see what each department is spending on legal? Or is that like a nightmare in and of itself?
It's a nightmare in and of itself because not a lot of times, but several times, you'll have it split between a couple of different departments for one item, and they kind of give you a generic piece where it's spoke with Finance Director Campo about default budget, spoke with Acting Town Manager about HR issue. So it'll all be in one, so then we'd have to kind of break out where it is and go from there. As well as with that kind of generic listing, we would have to go through however far you want to break it out based on department.
Well, I was just trying to get for us to get a handle on, how much legal money is spent in finance, how much legal time is spent in the town manager, how much legal in planning, so that you can see it
broken down by the department.
Yeah, so you can kind of have a better understanding of, how that all works. And that's why I was asking. So they're saying that can't.
It would be a lot of
A logistical nightmare?
Yes, that's the best way to put it.
A lot of our legal expenses were spent on the union contracts.
In this instance, that is exactly what it is. A good chunk of it, we had 5 union contracts, so.
There's a lot of time spent on that.
Right.
And that includes several departments.
Oh, yes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that would be really hard to be able to split that up by department.
So take that. So.
You don't really want to split it up on a project basis either. You don't want to do that either.
I'm sorry?
You don't want to split that up on a project or a issue basis either within legal. It's probably just better off to leave it as a general legal expenses.
I guess my bigger question is, which departments don't use legal? Is there any department in this town that does not use legal?
I can't say that with certainty. I can say there are some that use it significantly less. Speaking from my own experience, I try to use them more as a last resort and utilize my resources elsewhere. And then use them as a verification type process. Or I'm well connected within the finance directors for New Hampshire, so I'll reach out to them to see how they handled it and then reference it against our charter. And I know a lot of the other department heads will try to do the same thing. But there are some where the risk of not going to legal and being wrong outweighs going to legal and paying the cost.
And what is community development? Like what
does
that cover?
That's the planning department. I apologize. We talked about this previously about
I know,
how
but I'm saying it for anybody who's looking.
So community development in our in I believe DRA as well as our general ledger, we have it as community development, but that is actually our planning department. They're one and the same.
And maybe you should explain for like Dan and some of the people in the audience, what is general government?
So general government.
Do you?
Of course.
Okay. Because to me, it's.
But I think it's great for the public to know. Absolutely.
So general government covers various aspects such as the building, mowing. It's kind of not a catch-all, but it's a maintenance aspect. It's where the town common is. It's where we just had the concert on the common. Their allocation is in there. I don't like saying the word catch-all, but that's kind of where it falls, and it's all of that.
Okay, thank you for doing all this work too.
Absolutely.
Justin, where are we potentially projected to be in 2 months, percent usage-wise? We have about 18% left.
I guess my question for you with that, and I don't mean to be disrespectful, just a little playful here. How many fires are we going to have? How many serious police investigations and road issues?
Is it going to snow?
Is it going to snow? No, I'm saying that in a playful manner, and it's one I've said this, so please don't take offense.
No, you always got to play the devil's advocate.
Yep, no, and I fully understand, and I wish I'd be able to answer that question. It's one of the things I say that I'm a little jealous of the school district because they're able to give you a somewhat good idea of where they'll be in 2 months at this point. We deal with the public safety and first responders where we could be looking real great, and then all of a sudden we have a week or two.
Yeah.
Literally a plane falls out of the sky,
yes,
and
like
now all of a sudden you have $30,000 that you didn't plan on spending. A road gets washed away, and now all of a sudden we're paying a good amount to DPW. So I'm never comfortable providing that because a lot of factors can happen in a very short amount of time, and I mean, knock on wood, hopefully they won't. But that's one of the reasons why we like to have that buffer to allow for, should something happen that last week of June, the second to last week of June, we're not pulling all the reserves and doing what we need to.
Wonderful. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I got a question.
Good, Dan.
A few questions. Justin, so you talk about, road washing out. We had a huge sinkhole on Pillsbury Road. Okay. I never got notified about it. Just read about it on Facebook, and people notified me and said, what's going on? But where does that money come from to repair that road that, sunk? Because of a culvert.
Because of what?
It was a culvert that let go. The road sank, big hole. big hazard.
Yep.
Unexpected. All right, nothing, nobody planned for it. So where do we get the money for that?
So, and I can see Dave glaring at me right now.
He's laughing.
So the answer would be ideally we get it from our operating budget to be able to fund that, assuming that Pillsbury is not a state road.
Yep, it's not.
So we would get it from the operating budget to the cost associated with it would go through there. Should they exceed what we're capable of in the operating budget, we would come before you for a roadway maintenance trust fund request for that purpose.
Gotcha. All right. Couple other things. So on Saturday, I had a citizen ask me. He stated that he's asked numerous times about how many vacant positions we have in town. Hasn't been able to get an answer. So is it possible to get a list of vacant positions by department?
So do you want it as of right now or as of June 1st?
As of now.
So
But there could be people in process being hired,
Right.
and they're not there.
So as of right now, the town manager's department has one with the town manager, which will be filled June 1st, which
Okay.
is where that kind of came from.
Yep.
The assessing department has two technically, but one in reality. And the reasoning for that is we currently contract out our head assessor position with the intent of the assistant assessor at some point or an outside individual being able to come in and take that position fully. The assistant assessor position, however, is now open. The individual has left for another opportunity. The police department currently has 4 open positions. However, I believe there's 1 or 2 currently in the process. And then there are 2 part-time positions. The fire department has only the fire chief position as well as a part-time dispatcher position. Public Works has the assistant director of engineering position open as well as 1 truck driver position. And the library has 1 librarian position open.
Okay. So when I was at the school meeting, I had a gentleman ask me about these vacant positions that we fund. And he said, Dan, is it possible that we take the money from those positions, put them in a separate account, and once we get those positions filled, draw the money out of there? I said, well, sounds like a good idea. I don't know if it can be done, you know? So I guess I'm asking you, is that possible? Is this I guess one of the things that I brought up was it could be an issue with the auditors because we're moving money here and there. So question was asked, and I figured I'd ask you.
Without saying no, it's not possible, because there probably are ways around to be able to do it. I would not recommend doing it in that fashion. It gets really messy really quickly, and then you run into the issue of if somebody is hired at a different rate than what was moved in, but that money's in there, it's now a department taking from that position. It also, I think, would raise red flags of moving funds from, let's say, the police department to a general government department, and then back to the police department, where we're now doing various budget transfers in that aspect. And when we're reporting it on DRA, we'd have, let me put it like this, if I were DRA, I would question it. It's
not a good idea.
However, I think it would get a little too sticky and a little too messy to be able to execute it in the way that it seems it should.
Okay. So that's what I want to clarify.
I would agree that I think the auditors would look at me with 7 heads.
Okay. Is it possible to get an end-of-the-year report by department that we can look at and see how the department has spent the funds? For example, I want to pick on Public Works over there. All right. Public Works has a, let's say, $2 million budget. Okay. And you said they have how many open positions?
Currently 2.
2. So let's say those 2 positions, he's saying 1.
There's 1 away.
Okay.
So there's 2 currently open positions with 1 that is currently deployed. So we are not currently paying that individual. So the budget allocation is remaining unspent.
Okay, so what I'm looking at, when I'm looking at the whole budget situation, instead of waiting till we go at the budget process and we're trying to figure all this out, what I'm looking at is, let's say that DPW has a $2 million budget and they have one vacant position. Let's say it's 100,000. Okay, take that 100,000 out of that equation of the 2 million, and at the end of the year, if they were supposed to be at 1.9 million, what does that department look like as far as their expenditures?
So I could run a report that would show that. However, it would be disingenuous isn't the right word. It wouldn't show the full picture, because a lot of times outside of the truck driver position, so the assistant engineer position, while that position's open, that work is still there. So we're now contracting out to try and get someone to do that work, which will then show in the base expenditures for the department, which will then overinflate it. And my concern with that is if we look at it and I provide that to you and you see one line is, significantly higher, it may not be a need if that position were filled. So they were offsetting each other in that regard. And part of the issue is you look and the company we use to contract it out, we may use them anyways, just we're now using them on a more frequent basis because of the open position. So the answer is yes. I would, asterisk, highlight, and give you a warning of just because one line is significantly overspent doesn't mean that they need that appropriation to be increased because of that. There's more than one factor that plays into situations like that, if that makes sense. So the answer is I could, but I would asterisk it for you, saying be aware that some lines may be falsely over because the salary line is under.
And I know we've worked hard you've worked hard to try to correct the line items so they're properly funded.
Yep.
And that's what I'm looking at. I'm looking to make sure that our budget truly reflects what we're spending, not we're leaving this position open and using the money to do other things.
So this past budget that the voters have approved, it rectifies a lot of that issues for our first responders, which is why out of the 500 over default, all of it was allocated, or a good majority of it was allocated to DPW, fire, and police to resolve that issue where there should not be as dire of a need to leave those positions open, because we were able to bump up items like training that we know we're going to have. And if you look at the historic value or the historic history of it, we're budgeting at 40, we're spending 100,000. Well, if you look at the budget this year, it's now at 100,000. So I hope that answers that question.
Yeah, I think it's just something to look at.
We took a big jump this year.
Yep.
And the main focus was on our first responders and public safety to ensure that we get them the staffing levels they need and the positions that the voters have approved.
Yeah, I just think it'd be good to look at, to be able to say, this is how much money the open positions had in that department.
Yep.
And maybe some of that money was used later on for overtime, and had we filled that position, maybe the overtime wouldn't be so high, and things like that. So I just want something to look at. So
we can work on
these
getting
budgets.
that.
Thank you. That's it on those.
Okay. On to revenues. So the MS 434 is submitted each fall, and this is where we provide revenue estimates for the upcoming year. And the estimates are based on historical values. Due to timing, the calculations are done for, as I said, with historical values and the information available from July, August, and September, depending on when it is submitted. Various revenues, you'll see in the report, various revenues come in at specific times, whether it's once a year, quarterly, or semi-annually. So again, similar to what I tried explaining with the expenditures, it may not reflect the accurate placement, because right now we're at 83, but pilot, for example, It's not going to show that because we don't get that payment till June. And I duplicated that. The other thing to keep in mind is that when recording revenues with governmental accounting, you record it when it's occurred. So, for example, you'll see the revenue recognized. However, for example, the fire department has an outstanding balance or a receivable balance of over $900,000. So while they're while the other department income is over budget, $900,000 of that is still a receivable balance.
Is that from the ambulance?
And on the other aspect of the warrant articles, you'll see here, if you look at just the total revenues, it's 47.36%. If you take that away, we're doing great. And that, again, goes to the fact that we have these projects that we know we're not going to be receiving money until they start coming in and we recognize it in that fashion. It also reflects, if you remember, we had discussed during the budget season the fact that the $215,000 for the water project loan, we knew that we weren't going to make that payment this year. So we put in a revenue. If you look, it's part of the other revenue, DRA miscellaneous, to offset the appropriation. So that way there would be no impact on the taxpayers since we did not need that appropriation for this year. And we were aware of it. So that way we could benefit the taxpayers in that fashion.
Any further questions for Justin?
Well, I'll first commend our town clerk's office for generously over doing it on revenue this year on dog licenses. I know in the past we have not always met the number that we've looking for. So well done there. Now, what about like, so there's some of them that are quite large that we're still waiting on some numbers. I know you were saying on timings. So like the payment in lieu of taxes, I'm sure that one's all from the airport. Is that correct?
The portion remaining is from the airport, yes.
Okay. So when do we expect to receive that? I'm assuming between now
and
and
May,
June.
beginning of June. I have to
Okay.
send them the allocation of how much they would have been paying in taxes otherwise,
Okay.
based on their property values and what the tax rate was.
And what about excavation taxes? At 10 grand?
Those come and go as, I want to say developers, I'm not 100% sure, but as gravel.
I think we
is
were
a
signing
little-
some of them today.
So, yep, you may see those,
Yeah,
that
okay.
change, yep.
And then we're expecting, now for your motor vehicle permits, you can kind of predict that based off of our town clerk's office, right?
Nope.
No. Okay.
So motor vehicles, if you notice, we jumped up from what was voted to amended by $1 million. And what I did there is I took the previous 2 years. So I took July, August, and September, what we've actually received.
Mm-hmm.
And then I broke out each month individually. And I took the previous 2 years average. And then I took a 3-year average, 3-year median, 3-year lowest,
Mhm.
then a 5-year with the same schedule, and looked at where we could go, where we would safely be able to say we're going to hit 10, we're going to hit this number.
Mm-hmm.
This year it was 10 million. I would say safely next year you'll see an increase based on the calculations I do, because I think the lowest calculation I got during that was about 9.7.
Wow.
And that was the lowest amount each time, which historically we won't do that, which is why I bumped it up to 10.
Wow. Very nice.
But the other thing to keep in mind, which makes motor vehicles a little more tricky, is you get, a 0 down, 0% interest rate. So you have all these brand new cars. The registration is higher for those.
Oh, yeah.
Well, the next year, it's now lower, even though it's the same car, because it's a year older.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not as easy as it looks. We've increased this number a significant amount over the past 3 or 4 years. And hopefully, knock on wood, we will continue to be able to increase that number to lower the amount of money that needs to be raised through taxation.
What about the highway block grant? The highway block grant, 127,000.
Yep. So we have one more quarter that we will be receiving.
Gotcha. And the other state grants, what's included in
That is the water project.
Oh, that's just all water.
Yep.
Thank you. I think that's all I had. Thanks.
Any other questions from the council?
Justin, on sale of tax property?
That is the Gilchrist easement.
Yeah, but do we ever have property that the town takes over for non-payment of taxes that we sell?
We have a couple that we are doing back research into to be able to make sure. And there's one that is on the books to be put out to public auction. However, with the current transition of town managers that we've had during this time,
Yep.
we're waiting until I'm waiting until it comes. That way, there's not a issue with transition of
Great.
town managers and things of that.
Good
But
idea.
that is the plan.
And just so you know, Dan, when we sell property that's in that state, we only collect the back taxes off it. We don't get anything more than that.
Yeah,
Correct.
no,
So back in
goes back to the owner.
Yep.
So back in 2020, previously, after 3 years of a deed of property, anything that was received from the town would maintain. Back in 2020, someone challenged that law, and they won.
Yep.
So now the only thing the town gets, no matter how long it is the back taxes, including any taxes that have accrued since the deeding date, the interest associated with that, and any fees or penalties that have accrued. So when we go and we put it out to public auction, if we use a service, we can get the service cost back. Any legal fees that are associated with it, we get that back.
Thank you.
So essentially, it's intended to make us whole, and that's it. Everything else goes back to the original owner.
Yep. Thank you.
Any other questions for Justin?
I have two more. I guess maybe clarification on definitions for us and the public. What is yield taxes?
That is essentially the timber tax.
Okay.
Yep.
Business licenses and fees? What goes into that?
That is when an individual will come to register with the clerk. Is Shirley still here? Business licenses? So the reason I'm hesitating here is I'm under the impression it's business licenses. When you come to register and you have to pay the fee, that would be my assumption on that.
Gotcha. And what's reclamation fees?
So that is that comes from our reclamation trust fund, or not reclamation. It goes into the overages on that. It revolves around assisting in recycling and just recycling, right, Bob?
Gotcha.
Recycling, and it is attached to the motor vehicle fees. For every motor vehicle you register, you pay a fee to assist with the recycling costs for.
Gotcha. Thank you.
And the drop-off center.
Any other questions from the council? Justin, thank you for doing this.
Absolutely.
We appreciate it. Up next, I have a discussion of the town clerk compensation. Chief?
All right. Before we begin, Justin, that was outstanding. Quite the presentation. I know your time is limited in the town hall, but you seem to meet the deadlines put upon you by everybody. So thank you for your diligence in that.
Thank you very much.
You're very welcome. So one of the topics I'd like to discuss with the council is the town clerk compensation. Very important topic. And before we begin, how ironic that the proclamation for the Municipal Clerks Week was this week, too. You ladies downstairs perform an amazing job and a function for the entire community, and you all do an amazing job. So thank you very much for that, too. We're getting to the end of the fiscal year, and we're getting to the end where employees are getting their reviews. Their reviews or valuations based on merit and COLA, cost of living. In the last several months, the town has gone through negotiations with 5 different union contracts. Those are all going into effect July 1st. Employees in this community that serve, we call them staff, how about that? they're all going to be getting modifications or adjustments to wages, COLAs, cost of living. And there's over 200 employees that get paid by the town of Londonderry. Why I'm bringing this up, because this is a matter of importance. Several months back, maybe 2 months, 10 weeks ago or so, I sat down, or I presented to you folks, or a couple of you, the tax collector pay. We brought that forward, and we took care of that for an employee. The last few weeks, we've been noticing how hard, and when I say we, I'll speak for myself, how hard these employees in this town hall work. I've heard counselors say to me, we need to take care of our employees. We need to treat them right. We need to do the right thing. You heard me say earlier today at the podium when I talked about the importance of hiring the right people for Londonderry. We got to have competitive wages. We need to have good benefits, a good working environment, a good culture, good high moral standard. We need to do that. If we don't do that, we're going to be the communities that offer and beg and waive sign-on bonuses. We don't do that here. We don't need to do that here. What we need to do is what you folks up there say all the time, is what the department heads try to ensure that we do as employees for our employees. Pay them right, do the right thing, be their advocates, help them strive for success. Couldn't help but notice that when I was looking over some of these things that have had to sign off as of late, the town clerk, Sherry Farrell, hasn't received a COLA almost 3 years. Yep, 3 years. Said to myself, that's crazy. Doesn't make any sense. How does that happen? So I talked to finance and I said, does this make sense to you? He looked at it and said, yeah, it doesn't show anything. Interesting. So New Hampshire law governs this, says that it's got to be brought to the town to vote. It should be done annually during the budget process. This hasn't been done by the council, or the town manager hasn't addressed it in 2 years. I don't know about you folks, but if my spouse or a coworker wasn't getting a raise in almost 3 years, I'd tell them to look for a new job. However, I would not want that to happen to our town clerk. Our town clerk has worked here for 11 years. You know how many complaints there have been made about our town clerk? 0. It's a pretty good employee. Call it elected all you want. She's an employee. She represents and serves the community members that put her there. I did some homework too. Everyone likes to talk about homework. I was bored one day and I thought, got to take a look at what we need to do to make this right. I'm going to share some facts with you folks. Salem pays their clerk $113,000. Wyndham, $103,000. Merrimack, $91,000. I'll throw some small towns out there. Exeter, $95,000. Wolfboro, $77,000. Auburn, $72,000. Our lovely tax clerk here makes $71,780 a year for the last couple of years. No increase. I still thought that was wrong. I said, this can't be right. We can adjust the pay salary by the annual vehicle registered through the town. The town registered 42,595 vehicles. You can adjust the salary based on $2 per registration. That can determine the salary for the town clerk. We don't do that. The town clerks, or the towns that I had mentioned, they get pensions, retirement, whatever you want to call it. They get benefits. We don't do that here. We always say that Londonderry leads the way. Sometimes we need to lead a little bit better. How we let an employee go 2 years without being recognized for a stipend, a pay bump, a COLA, whatever you want to call it, we all, everybody, missed this mark. We missed it. You can't fix it now. None of you can fix it now. I've already inquired. But what we can do is we can propose to make this right come the next budget season. We're talking about it today because no one likes surprises. Shouldn't be discussed in the first week, the third week, or the 8th week of the budget season. I'm asking you folks now to have it in the back of your minds to understand where we're at, where we need to go. We need to make sure we compensate all of our employees, all of them, accordingly. Couldn't help it, but I had to ask Sherry. Sorry about this. I had to ask her, how come you haven't mentioned for over 2 years about a cost of living, a COLA? Everything else around us has gone up astronomical, and you still haven't asked why. Two response, and you find me an employee of this town who's going to say this, because I doubt it. One, because my husband was on the council, I didn't want to draw any attention to it. Two, I didn't want to bother anybody. I didn't think it was that big of a deal. That's a phenomenal employee to put herself before her husband and before others. This is what we have for people that serve in Londonderry. I'm not on a soapbox. Sherry's a great employee. Like every employee, Mr. Campo, Sarah, Cheerston, Kelly, Dave Wally, go down the list. These people do a great job and they should be compensated. If I had the ability, which I don't, but if I did, I would set her wage comparable to these other ones. She's $30,000 underpaid for a town this big. I know what's going to happen. People say, oh, the warrant article, the warrant article. Sherry's been here for 11 years. 11. This was addressed back in 2014 and 15, I believe, through former town manager Smith. I think we need to do better. She did not ask me to bring this forward, because if I asked her, Sherry, would you like me to speak on this tonight? She would have said, no, dear, don't worry about it. I'm fine. But that's not okay with me. It's not okay with me as a temporary boss over here or as the police chief, because over there, I advocate for the people that I serve with too. I serve and I work with Sherry here too. And I was hoping to bring this to your attention tonight so that you guys can recognize what we need to look at come the budget season. It's so important that we share the same message with every employee, regardless if it's elected or not. On a snarky note, if it were me, I don't know if I'd be given 110%, but she does. Every single time she's here, every single day. So thank you for allowing me to speak on it. I'm happy to answer any questions. However, I don't want to go over warrant articles from 13 years ago, etc. I wasn't here for those things. I'm just talking about the current state of the compensation that I wanted to bring to your attention.
Any questions from the council?
I just want to make a comment that I think that I had a great opportunity to speak with the new town manager coming in, and I think this is something that he should be addressing, and I think he will address something, all our concerns in town. So,
excellent.
Councilor Bouchard, thank you for referencing that, and I appreciate that.
Anybody else?
I mean, certainly I think that it should be rectified at some point to come up with the industry standards across the state that we're facing compared to the other towns.
All right. Everybody else? All right. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Up next, an expenditure from the Master Plan Capital Reserve Fund. Ms. Karen.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So, as the council is aware, we are in the process of updating our comprehensive master plan. And so after some period of time leading to now, we thought it appropriate to bring forward an order to withdraw from the Capital Reserve Fund. So the request before you this evening is for disbursement of $17,496 from said fund. Happy to go into more detail or take questions.
Any questions from the council?
Sure.
Go ahead.
What are we going to use it for?
So this has been used so far for the meetings, work sessions, several draft chapters that the Southern New Hampshire Planning Commission is conducting for us. They're the consultant that we've contracted and hired for this. So this is the means to fund that.
Okay.
So, Kelly, this is for the a new master plan that you're working on?
Correct. This is related to the expenses associated with the new master plan update.
And when do you think we might see that new master plan?
So my hope is hopefully at the latest early 26. I think that the planning board has, would prefer to see it sooner than that, closer to the fall.
Yep.
But that said, these things do take time, and I think it's appropriate to spend time on them. We've seen 3 draft chapters so far, so that's a great start. But like I say, I would hope early 2026.
Sometime
is
next
more
year.
than reasonable, but the planning board might have a different view.
Thank you.
Any other questions, Ms. Karen? Thank you.
Make a motion to accept order 2025-11.
Motion from Ted.
Second.
Second from Sean. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Chair votes in the affirmative. Next up, we have 4 expenditures from the Expendable Maintenance Trust Fund. Mr. Wally, and I was going to see if you could discuss each of the 4 of them, and then we could ask you questions at the end.
Okay, sounds good.
Right.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, Mr. Town Manager, and the viewing audience. My name is Dave Wally. I'm Director of Public Works and Municipal Facilities. The first one is fairly simple. It is a request for $2,450 for some windows that we have to have replaced here in Town Hall. They're 20 years old. I went around and surveyed all of them in the building. We actually have 23 of them that have fogged over. So basically, what's caused that is the leak in the gaskets out of the between the panes, and so we had those 5 done already, and then I'll just kind of incrementally go along and replace them as we go. So that is the first order. Second one is for $8,858, and in your packet should be 3 quotes for your review. Essentially, on this building, again, it's 20 years old. They only used pine board trim for the fascia, and at some point in time, I think I found records that said about 2018 or something down the south-facing side, which usually gets hit the worst with sunlight and whatnot. They put some aluminum wrapping on that, so I got some quotes to do the remainder of the building as well, because some of that pine trim is starting to look a little weathered, and rather than painting it, this is definitely a final way to handle that situation. So the low quote was the $8,858. So at the firehouse, we had a little situation with a humidifier, and this isn't your typical house humidifier. This is one that handles at least 2/3 of the air in that building. Particularly of importance is this is the air that goes into the dispatch center, so you don't want to have a lot of static in that area for obvious reasons. And earlier in the night, we were talking about acidic water, and so what we found, this was kind of, it's a little bit interesting how things come about, but so we had an issue back in late February with this, and then it was discovered that the elements had calcified quite a bit and needed to be replaced. Sounds, innocent enough. Ironically enough, while we were waiting for these parts to come in, because they were heavily back ordered, we had the hot water tank go. Commercial hot water tank after 5 years, 3-year warranty, but you'd expect to get a little bit more than that out of it. And so what we've deductively reasoned is that we need to put in a kind of a filter system in that to protect both the hot water tank and then this unit as well, because these parts were pretty expensive, as you can see in the pricing. So we're looking into that. We do have those types of treatments already on the boiler at Central and at Northfire as well. So we're going to look into that just as further preventive maintenance so that something like this doesn't occur again. So those were rush ordered. Again, they were still back ordered quite a bit, and that repair was done. So that was kind of an emergency to get that taken care of. And then the larger emergency to speak of, and I kind of tipped you off a little bit at the last town council meeting, that the boilers at the North Fire Station finally went, and unfortunately they were 15 years old. I did share with you in the packet too some of the dialogue that we had with our current maintenance contractor too, where we couldn't even get parts for it. So that decision had to be made relatively quick, 24-hour emergency facility. And I was pleased with the units that they recommended. We had their service manager come out, one of the higher ups in the company as well, and they had a couple other HVAC engineers look at that too. These are American-made units too, so they're also more readily available for parts and what have you not, and very high performance of a good unit. They come with a 10-year warranty on the boiler, and then the associated parts and labor is a 1-year warranty on that. But I was pretty proud of how quickly that went. Big thank you to the fire department for their patience in rectifying that as well. And I will answer any questions. I also have some, I didn't put this in your packet, but just I had pulled what we have spent on that in the last couple of years on that particular boiler unit. It was a little over $4,000. So,
Any questions for Dave on any of the four?
Dave, which windows were replaced?
the 4 in this lobby hallway, if you will, and figured I'd get the one done in the town manager's office before the new guy showed up. So the next group, there's 4 of them in the lobby upstairs as well. And it was brought to my attention, actually, that window right there, didn't fog over, but the sunlight hit it just right, and it looks like there's a crack in the window. So figured I'd get that one.
Pretty impressive that you were able to get those done for $490 each. I can't get windows done that cheap at my own house.
So, yeah, I'll give a little bit of a, just a good thumbs up to, that's a local Londonderry business establishment and wanted to do right by the town. He lost the bid, he informed me, to do the windows in the building when it was built. But so he wanted to at least try to make sure that he could help out the town as well. So,
any other questions for Dave?
I do.
Good,
Before we
good.
change from, it's on the windows. So.
Oh, please,
Yeah.
yeah.
Sure.
So, so none of these windows had any like warranties or anything on them,
No,
right?
not especially now. They're
So,
20 years old.
When you were talking to this, the vendor,
Mm-hmm.
did you ask, like, do you have a certain number of windows in which I can get? So in other words, if we were going to do all of the windows eventually within the next like 5 years, right? Why not just suck it up? Because you might be able to get a better price, get it all done. Because next year they could be more expensive, and the year after that they could be more expensive. So did they have a number that like they break as a discount? So in other words, 10 windows you get.
That's a great question because I had considered that, whereas we have 23 of them. So I said, what if we do all 23 of them, whatever. He said the price he wouldn't need to. He was giving us enough of a price break point, again, being a Londonderry business. So he was going to work with us on that and just keep it continuous. I don't plan on doing this over the next several years, but I didn't want to make it too involved and too impactful in the operation of the building and whatnot. And quite frankly, we've had a little bit of a run of bad luck, and looking at some other projects that I want to tackle too. I didn't want to just go ahead and tackle all the windows all at
And
once.
do these windows have any kind of warranty on them?
So that's
Life
a good question.
expectancy.
That unit itself, I did not ask that, but I can get an answer for that too.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Ron, I have one
Yeah,
more
go ahead,
question.
Ted, yeah.
Dave, you may have this answer, but we may need to refer back to our finance director on this. Where do we fit expendable maintenance trust fund wise balance?
I got it.
That was a big hit with the 67?
Yeah, coming in the other day when I asked last week, we're at $318,569.18.
Is that after or before?
No, that is before these expenditures.
Okay.
All right, these total roughly $86,000, I think. Although that number actually may go up a little bit because when I got that number too, I don't believe Sarah looked at least I didn't ask her to look at the money that I have encumbered for winter plowing. That last request that I did, we're not going to exceed all that, so that will be coming back to this account as well. It's not a lot, but I want to think I have about $15,000 left on that last allocation.
So we'll probably be at about $200,000 left?
Yeah, a little over that. Yeah. And then July, the warrant article will be applied to that as well, and that was a $200,000 warrant article.
Of course. Are you planning anything between now and the end of June?
Yeah, no, before the end of June, no.
Yeah.
No, we do have some long-term issues that we need to talk about going forward with some cameras and door locks and whatnot to finish and build out the firehouses a little bit better than what they have. Some of those coded door keys and pads are all now obsolete and what have you. So we're looking at something in that. It's going to be pricey as well.
I guess that kind of leads us into our next topic now, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. Just general discussion on things. There's other concerns that we're looking at with the firehouse too. South Station in particular, just keeping an eye on that roof down there. It's getting close, and down there as well, their fascia and what have you needs to be addressed as well. And I just figured we'd tackle it all at the same thing again. This roof is fine for now, so I wanted to at least get that before it looks like it's rotted boards coming off. So, but we'll do that whole project incorporated down there. Now, the two things that I had made of special note, one, and this is probably appropriate again too, because it's the Clerks Week. So with COVID came about a lot of plexiglass. And
Can I pause you real quick before
Yep.
we move on to that
Sure.
subject?
Mhm.
Can I make a motion on these?
Sure. Yeah.
Yes.
So I'll make.
Before you do that,
Thank
I
you.
got
Don't want him to get carried off before we.
Before we
I
move
got
on to
stuff to
Ed.
discuss on this as well.
Any more questions regarding the 4 expandable maintenance trust funds?
Yes.
Dave.
Okay.
Dan, sorry.
Dan.
It does.
For Dave.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so the town hall fascia wrapping,
Mhm.
we're going to be doing that all in aluminum?
Yes.
And it looks like we're going to be using the local contractor?
Yeah, he was the low bid, not the gentleman that did the glass, but
Right.
he was the low bid for this. Yeah.
On the central fire station humidifier,
Mhm.
all right, how old is this unit? Because central fire was renovated.
I understand.
Was that part of the renovation, or was that not addressed when they renovated the fire
No,
station?
it's new to the building, and again, what I believe we're experiencing is that the water that's coming in the building, is pretty acidic, and that's kind of what could potentially have made these elements kind of get calcified as quickly as they did.
So
it just seems ironic that the water heater, which feeds that, went almost within a month or two of this
So
issue.
this unit was replaced during the renovation, or
It's
not?
all part of the new heating and ventilation system for the building, yes.
That's not that old.
Shouldn't that have been under warranty?
That's not old at all.
If it was a part that failed, yes, but the elements themselves were doing what they're supposed to do. But it's the water that was in it that created it. Can you prove that?
I mean, we're on town water there. We're
Correct.
not on the well water.
Correct.
So
It's not all that uncommon, and that's why, like on the boilers, they have their own filtration systems. We reached out to that same company too to see if they could come and do something on this. They don't work on anything kind of that small or that specific, so we're in the process of kind of looking into that.
Okay, because that concerns me when
It did me as well, and that's why I want to make sure that we put something in place that's preventable, including in the hot water tank as well. I mean, 3 years out of a hot water tank is
And I know that the boiler at Station 1,
Mhm.
now, I think we should have gotten more than 15 years on a boiler, personally, but I also know that this building was built from money received from the federal government. It wasn't, from property taxes collected in town.
Some of it, yeah.
So I think some of that was probably maybe done on the cheap end. I don't know.
Well, so it was part of that LEEDS program that was, shovel-ready American projects, and it had to be certain percentages of it had to be EPA compliance and all the federal lingo that you would expect in that type of a program. So I don't know if I mentioned this at the last meeting, but a few years ago when I finally was bringing in HVAC contractors to even do maintenance on our stuff because we had no maintenance contracts in place, we were just kind of in the mode of something goes wrong, call somebody, pay to fix it. They were a little taken back that we even had those units even in there operating. They were known in the industry for being extremely problematic, and most of them made it about 8 or 9 years. So they were pretty pleased to see that we had one going on 12 years. And again, we had some issues. We kind of limped them along a little bit, but when the heat exchanger finally blew. What happened was a weld let go. The gas built up in the chamber. Actually blew the inspection door right off of it. So there's no replacing. As you can see in the email that I gave you too, it clearly states that even if we wanted to get a new exchanger, and even if we could have located one, it's not cost effective. It's better to go with a whole new unit.
So with the elements having an effect on these, is there going to be anything done to prevent them from getting at the new ones?
So, well, did you say elements?
Yeah.
All right. So in that boiler system, they have a filtration system on it.
Okay.
Yeah. And even you can just see how things change as time goes on too. So when they did this, in one of the photos I put in there where we have it all out, we actually had to replace the exhaust. And this, again, was probably some of the problems that they were experiencing with these types of boilers, where they were burning a little too hot. The codes have even changed in this too, so they had to change out the exhaust flue as well, because they had PVC pipe in there. And if you look in that photo, you'll see the discoloration between. You can easily identify which ones was the exhaust and which one was the fresh air intake, because the heat going up, it was just so excessive. So they had to actually change that out. Which is a new code too as well.
Mhm.
So,
any other questions from the council? I will accept the motion to do the 4 expandable maintenance trust funds.
Make a motion to accept Order 2025-07, 2025-08, 2025-09, and 2025-10.
Motion from Ted.
Second.
Second from Dan. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Chair votes in the affirmative.
thank you.
Stay where you are, Dave.
Yep. So, in just a more broader general discussion, if you will, have 2 things that I just wanted to run by you. I think that the plexiglass discussion is, in my mind, an approvable expenditure. But before I move forward with it, I just wanted to see what the council's consensus is on this. As you all know, as we all know in the room, when COVID came about, plexiglass was installed in a lot of places, and it's a good temporary measure. Some places have removed it. Some places have put in permanent safety glass, if you will, spit guards, splash guards, whatever you want to call them. In 2 of the areas of the building, the Public Works Department and the Building Department, they elected that they wanted to still have some form of barrier, because it really opened their eyes to see how much actually ends up on the plexiglass. You can't really clean plexiglass and whatnot. In those 2 areas, we were able to just put in some pieces of glass that was relatively inexpensive. But to do an area like the town clerks, I had already kind of went out and solicited some pricing, and I know we're going to be over the $10,000 mark, so this would put us into a bid. I didn't want to go through the rigors of doing a bid process if we thought that was something that either A, needed to be operational expenditure, B, is crazy as a warrant article potentially. In my mind, something that is temporary is essentially being requested to remain in place as a permanent structure. And, these are just kind of clipped up to the ceiling. You can't clean plexi. They're a little flimsy in nature. So something like a more permanent glass bank teller, if you will, type of a type of barrier is what I'm seeking to put in place. So I don't have the dollars in front of you. But I'm just looking for a little bit of what your thoughts are on that. If you see that as maintenance or not. I believe that it does rise to that level.
I have some thoughts on this whole thing, entire thing. Okay, I know we come in, we got to fix this, we got to fix that. I'd like to see, and when the new town manager comes in here, I'll talk to him about this. But this is my thought, Dave, a comprehensive plan to maintain our buildings in this community, that we look at it and say, all right, town hall, we have 30-year shingles. When were they put in? When are we looking to probably replace those? Same thing with the PD. Any building that we own in town, we should have a comprehensive plan so that it helps us during budget time, So when you come in during the budget season, that we're looking at it as a council and saying, oh yeah, 2027, we got to plan for this roof, or we got to plan for this HVAC. I mean, I look at finance; their HVAC is gone. That needs to be replaced, right? Needs to be fixed.
That's one of my discussion points
Right.
tonight. Yeah.
So if we had a plan for all our buildings, all right, and that we can look at it and say, this is what it is, and this is what we need to do to maintain. I mean, we have a lot of money tied up into our buildings, and I believe Mr. Slater, is he still here? Yeah, I see him in the back there. I think the school department has something like that, don't they?
Okay.
Yeah, they have a facility study, you know, and it just lays out the whole plan for maintaining our buildings.
Yeah, I understand the request. I get it. The way it's structured here with the expendable maintenance trust fund, I get it. We kind of have a list of things that we know or are anticipating coming along, like I was just illustrating a little bit ago.
Yep.
And I get that, you know, and to some extent you can, you know, a roof is an easy example of something like that. Yeah,
Sure.
it's 30-year shingle. You're slated in for a 5-year period right in this area. Some of the things we've been tackling, like the roof at the library a couple of years ago, was something that drastically needed to be done. It was just, again, like you said, it will fall off the scale and you miss it. So I get that. And one of the things that's been on that list of what you're referring to is, you know, the AC units for this building. They're 20 years old, and now the refrigerant that's in it, you can't get it anymore. So we've been working on that, is to try to figure out what's the solution. I still don't have a good answer for that, but I believe this is going to rise to a level of an emergency to there's one unit for this room is not working, and certainly the one unit for the finance is a pretty big emergency to get that done. We've got window units up there, and it's working out fine for right now, the temperatures we're experiencing. But the refrigerant is a problem, so we're working on that right now on the best solution, because it's R22. They're on almost their third version now, where the version that's out now, you can't get that anymore. When you change that, the lines in some instances needs to change. So I'm waiting on those answers. I was hoping to have some of that information before I came here tonight. We just met last week, and they're still working that problem, because if we have to change the lines, the way that they design this building, they're underground, and then they go up in through the walls and got to go all the way to the attic. That's a costly expense, unless if we can find a workaround on that. They're looking into a substitute for that R22 called 422, which may work. You still got to purge the lines pretty good. It's complicated, so I don't want to take up the rest of your night, but I understand what you're referring to on something a little bit more laid out, structured.
Yeah. Because I know, Dave, we talked once before about some of the piping in this building that, you know, is not the best and needs to be replaced. And we're piecemealing it a little bit at a time. So it'd be nice if we had a good plan to say, this is what we need to do to maintain our buildings.
And it's something I can definitely work on, you know, because chipping away at long-term issues are sometimes not always the best way to go about it.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair.
Yeah, absolutely.
Would it be worthwhile for you to build the bank teller style partitions, and I guess look at it as a third of the third? So then maybe not going over your time.
Well, due to the nature of that area, I want to structure it so that they come in on a weekend and get it all done and get out, and not keep coming back and impacting the flow and the work area and everything else. And again, this is one of those things where this is going to be over $10,000, but it's not $100,000. So whereas you try and chip away $25,000 this year, $25,000, and so on. This should just be a one whole comprehensive project, just to put it together, be done.
Would it hurt to wait until the new town manager comes in? Maybe he has a different idea on different approach, what he wants
Certainly
to do
can.
with that?
We've gone back and forth. I've been dealing a lot with the town clerk, and she's been talking to her staff about what they would want, what they wouldn't want. You know, at one point we talked about how much height will there be so that they can still hear, because glass is going to be thicker than plexi.
Yep.
We don't want to have a hearing problem on them trying to communicate with people. So the natural thing was say, well, put a speaker hole in it. Well, that defeats the purpose, because now people they're speaking into it and they're spitting through the glass. So,
Exactly.
we talked about the height. So if we keep it down, we'll still be audible, won't be impacted. We can certainly wait a little bit longer, but again, we've been waiting kind of on this for some time.
Well, we're talking
and
a few weeks.
The events of the most recent past have kind of interrupted that flow and progress, because we were about to move on this back in the fall. So I already had an idea what it was going to be.
That would be my feeling. It's just wait a few weeks. Sean gets here. He might have some different ideas, different thoughts on what he wants to do in the building.
And
I don't
I
know.
think it'd be worthwhile to move forward on this. And if he has a design or companies that he's looking at having to do the work, propose it to us and bring it forward. I don't think it's worth delaying.
There's only so many options, really. I mean, it's leave the plexi up, which is, again, unsightly and just not a permanent structure, and it's been there over 3 years now. Take it down and tell our employees that, it is what it is. We can do something more grand where it's more storefront and you got aluminum siding, but when we were discussing it, we really didn't want to have the look of not to pick a town out, but Derry, it's very, it's not the warm, open, welcoming Londonderry feel that we have here, and we didn't want it to be too boxy and too gaudy.
So, Dave, this kind of led me into my question earlier about what we had left in the Expendable Maintenance Trust, because if you need to move forward with the AC units, which that sounds like it could be quite costly, would we have availability to do this project or not?
Yes. Yeah. Because this one is not as grand as that. Right. And again, this is where the results of what I find out about these two particular units, which I've got to get them going, will then depend on where we go for the remainder of all of them. That wouldn't be something that I want to just piecemeal together.
No, of course not.
That would be something that we should just say, unless if you tell me otherwise. There's sometimes people no, let's, you've out of the 11, you've changed out 2. We got 9 to go, but 3 of them might last 10 more years. Why would we replace, instead of then just do them all?
Dave, do we have any question or comment upon potentially the health effects of what's in the lines?
No. Okay. There's no leaks or anything like that.
Okay, good.
It's just that the condenser inside is done, and so the refrigerant, it's not going to cool anything.
Right.
But there's no leaks on the refrigerant. Nothing
Wonderful.
Like that.
Thank you.
No.
Any other questions?
Yes, please.
Go ahead.
So this isn't really a question, but a statement.
Mm-hmm.
So would it be really, really difficult or something that you could do, since this is the first I'm hearing about the plexiglass and they just give us the options real quick, nothing detailed, but option 1 is replace the plexiglass. The cost of this.
Yeah.
Option 2 is to put in the half glass tele kind of things. Whatever. Option 3. And then just what is the next meeting? Then next 2 weeks or whatever it is, May, whatever. Just come so we can actually look it up and look at it, look at the cost, come up with an idea, and then do it.
I can.
I don't think that's a lot to ask. I'm not trying to slow it down, but.
Well, I know
you said you were looking since the fall. This is
the 3 options are take the plexiglass down and be done. Just restore things back to
that's another option.
The old normal. That costs nothing. This option is $10,000. It's a clean look. It's easy to maintain and whatnot.
I understand.
And then the larger, more involved that you're talking about, that I was referring to with the storefront option, you're looking at $50,000
And
plus.
when you put that together, right? Take it down. Number 1, take it. 2, replace the plexiglass. 3, do the grand thing. 4, do the other thing. Just the longevity of each one and the cost, so that we can actually say we made an intelligent decision with stuff in front of us.
Okay.
That would make me, as one counselor, feel comfortable. And I don't think I'm asking you to, drag it. I just think that looking at it, and I can look at a constituent and say, yeah, I looked at all the options. This was the best bang for our buck,
Okay.
and it would look the best and be the safest for the tellers.
Yeah, I can see if I can get a storefront option pricing by the next meeting. I'll do my best. 'Cause
Well,
they'll
thank
have
you.
they'll
I
have to
mean,
come and do some measuring and stuff like that.
If it's not doable by the next one, then the next one after
Yep.
that, what?
Okay.
I'm not telling you to go crazy. Just
Yeah. No, I know that option because I did it in my previous place, so I kind of understand what the pricing is going to be because that's what they chose to do there right out the gate rather than do plexi.
Yeah.
And it was, it was fairly expensive. So
Okay.
this, in my mind, and I understand it's your vote, and you're the one to say go forward. So that's why I was trying to keep this.
And
just
prices have probably gone up since you
Oh,
did
absolutely.
it at your other place.
Absolutely.
So just to have a good,
Yep.
and to be able to look people in the face and
Yeah,
tell
I
them
get
the
it.
truth. I looked at everything.
Yep.
That's why I voted
Okay.
this way. Makes me feel comfortable.
Mhm. If that's what the board decides, sure.
Any other discussion? All right. Not looking for a vote, looking for consensus. Do we want to move forward with what Dave has? Do we want to wait to the next May 19th meeting? It'll be the next meeting, May 19th. And have Dave come back with the three options. What do we want to do as a board?
I don't know, I
As a
think
council?
waiting May 19th, bring the options forward so we can look at them
Wait.
and see what
That's
the
what
price
I
is.
would like to do.
Yeah, I mean, we don't even know what his all-in pricing really looks
Right.
like just
Yeah.
yet.
All right.
Okay.
All right. So
I can do that.
May 19th work for you?
Yeah.
Okay.
As long as I can get the quotes in
Yeah.
that quick. I will definitely have something resolved about the air conditioning by
Okay.
then. I'll be gone the next week, but I'll be back on the 19th. That's
Thank
fine.
you, sir.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it. Up next, we have the council discussion on planned unit developments, and Councilor Paul asked us, so we put it on the agenda.
Yep.
So if you want to.
And thank you for doing it. I asked back in April because I am concerned about the planned unit development for a couple of reasons. I know that there's limited large parcels of land left in town, according to the Master Plan Steering Committee. I do feel like there are a lot of weak spots in it. You look at Woodmont and you say, wow, this is what we thought the master plan was going to look like. This is what we thought we were going to get. And that's not necessarily what we got. So we need to fix it, fine tune it. And my feeling was to temporarily take it off the shelf, redo it, make sure that it's all on the side of the town, benefits the town and the town people. Then if, the board or the planning board wants to bring it back to life, that would be great. Now, why do I want to take it off while we're fixing it? Is because if there are developers out there looking to use it now, it leaves us open for things that could happen again, like in Woodmont, and it may not be the best fit for the town. So my biggest interest is, A, by putting it on the shelf temporarily to fix what needs to be fixed and make sure that we're doing everything right with it. B, this would then stop growth or slow down growth for temporarily while we just make sure it's for the best interest of the town. So those are the reasons why I wanted to bring it forward to talk about it. And I am in a little bit of a rush because I do know that there potentially could be 2 or 3 more developers out there looking to bring in 2 or 3 more PUDs. And that could really, really change Londonderry forever. And so my goal one of my goals was to do that, was to look at the PUD, discuss it, and see what we could do, just to take a breath, think about it, make sure we put it in place correctly, and do the right thing for the people in the town.
So I just want to make a note. This was brought up during the joint town council planning board meeting. We cannot talk about any planning thing or any PUDs in process right now, just to make sure that we all don't do that. I also I talked to the chair of the planning board, Jake Butler, today, And he had expressed his desire that we follow the process. If we make changes, we go through the planning board, have them make recommendations to us, and then we as a council act on the recommendations.
We got to a public hearing anyway.
So,
Good, sir.
Just a quick clarification from our planning director and assistant town manager. We need 100 acres for a PUD. Is that correct?
The PUD ordinance, which is within our zoning ordinance, requires 100 contiguous acres, correct?
So I don't really envision another parcel of land that really could do that at this point in time.
They could buy multiple acres, Ted. You can, just like Woodmont did, they bought just like
I understand
Technology Hill did, they bought to get the 100. So even though it might not be just sitting there, like, Elwood Orchards, which is 100 acres, they could go like that. And then we lose another orchard. We don't know. We don't have a crystal ball. And so if we don't have it, what's the big deal about removing it for the moment?
So I guess I'm very confused, but I guess, are you looking to sidestep the PUDs that are currently in place as well?
You can't touch those, Ted. You
I
know
just want to
that.
make sure that's not how it
You
came
know
up.
that.
That's
not what I said, Ted.
That's how it sounded.
Well, I'm sorry you didn't hear me correctly. What I said is there aren't a lot of pieces, but you can piecemeal a PUD together by buying different acres and property so that you have
Yes,
100 acres.
I know that.
And I said they're just like Woodmont did, and they did. They bought Max, they bought Estes, they
I know
bought
that.
different pieces of property, just like Technology Hill did, as an example. They bought that piece of property, then they bought Tebow's property. So they bought other pieces of property to get to the point where they needed to be. That's what I said. I said didn't bring anything else up.
Okay. So I guess my question is but there's not many more continuous properties within town or even that could be bought to really make that potential.
And
100
that's
acres.
when I said something like Elwood Orchard could be sold in a heartbeat tomorrow, or another piece of property that's large could be sold in a like Reed Clark's property. There's 90 acres. He could buy a couple more
Most
and
of
turn
that
it
is
into 100.
wetlands. Most of that is wetlands and not buildable.
Well, I'm just pointing it out. I don't know every piece of land. And the fact is, if there isn't 100 pieces of acreage left in town, then it shouldn't be a big deal. Why would you need it to begin with? If you don't have any more pieces of land to use and it's not going to be used, then it shouldn't be a big deal to take it and just put it on the shelf till we make sure that it's written well and it's written in favor of the town benefiting from it as well.
what specifically is written wrong that you feel that we need immediate action?
It's proven itself time and time again, Sean, that it has failed us as a community. I don't feel I was so excited
I'm just
about
asking how
getting
you'd
Woodmont.
rewrite it.
I don't have it in front of me. I didn't bring it to be specific. I am talking just specifically about getting this conversation going because I am concerned. I'm concerned about someone who's looking to purchase a large piece of property to develop it over in the Auburn area. And that's concerning
I'm
to
going
me.
to address that right now because I don't want to get things confused. That project has submitted conceptually. They're in the queue from a legal standpoint that we would be required to follow the current ordinance.
When did that become?
It had a conceptual meeting at the planning board January 8th. We have consulted with legal to confirm that. That is correct. In addition to that, if you remove this ordinance, it requires a process even with this council. The process is a first reading and a public hearing. No matter what you're going to do to it, remove it, amend it. If someone chooses to submit after they watch this meeting, for example, we're required to follow the current ordinance. So I just want to make sure that's clear to you five decision makers.
And I think by putting it on the shelf, we could actually encourage someone who is debating it to move forward when they may not. And if we're only making somewhat changes that aren't going to really affect what that's going to be. I don't know necessarily that's worth putting it on the shelf to cause all of this. We could end up causing more development in town by doing something like this.
I think I'm just a little disappointed since we had a meeting and you didn't tell me that that happened on the 8th when I brought it up.
Publicly noticed.
I'm sorry?
It was publicly noticed.
But when we were discussing it, you did not mention it.
You
and I'm
actually-
just very disappointed. That's all I'm going to say, Kelly.
Well, I'm going
That's it.
I'm going to respond.
Okay.
Good, you can, but you should have told
We
me.
discussed that PUD, and I told you that I was going to pose the question about where it stood from a legal standpoint, which I did in consultation with legal counsel and the planning board.
Dan, you
Again.
had some questions?
That's
And
what
this
happened.
conversation wouldn't have been happening if you had said that at that private meeting, but you chose not to.
I didn't realize your intent was to get ahead of that development.
Dan, you had
I
some
said it
questions?
at the meeting, Kelly.
So Kelly, what are the steps if this council decided we wanted to do something with the PUD? What's the first step we need to do?
Well, actually, the town manager had sent an email to the 5 counselors requesting that you provide information to the planning department about potential amendments that you'd be seeking so that we would have some direction. I did not hear from all 5 of you. I heard from 2. So it was difficult to get a consensus on where you wanted to go as a council. So what I would expect is a consensus of a direction that you want to go, whether it's removing the ordinance in its entirety, or if you're seeking amendments to it, what you potentially are looking for those amendments. And then from there, I would bring forward a red line document and you would have a first reading on it, and then you would have a public hearing and vote on what you want to do with the ordinance.
Okay, so this is my 2 cents on this. All right. I've watched the council meetings, not sitting up here, but sitting over there for many years. I saw the chair of the planning board come to the council, ask the council to have a building moratorium, and asking for help, and nothing was done by the council. I watched the planning board meetings and attended the joint council meeting and planning board meeting recently. There was a lot of discussion about regulations, about zoning, etc. I feel the PUD, as written, is not a really good working document. We heard that from a gentleman that came in today, a citizen, all right, who was very familiar with this stuff and said, your PUD document is lacking a lot of good stuff, needs to be changed. So I think it needs to be reworked, and I think the changes need to be made to benefit the Londonderry as a whole. Now, what I would like the council to entertain is probably going through the process, removing the PUD, and we can revisit it once we fix it. Because when I was at that joint meeting, the planning board, there's a lot of issues that we have to address. They're looking at the council to help them with that. I think this is one thing that we can just put aside for now, work on the other issues. I hear the planning board, and there are many issues to address, and instead of trying to tackle all of them, like the chair of the planning board suggested, we tackle one. Take one thing, and let's tackle that as a group with them. Make that change, all right? And then go and address something else. So, to me, removing the PUD gives the planning board and the council time to work on other issues that we can come back and work on a later date. I'm not saying done. Let's give us some breathing room a little bit. I spoke to Kelly about, bringing back impact fees, and that's a process. That
Yeah,
takes
I think
time.
that's a separate topic.
It's not a separate topic.
But we're speaking about PUDs.
I am, Ted. All right? But it's just one of those things, another tool that when we're talking with the planning board that needs to be addressed. And looking at impact fees. That takes a while to do correctly. So what is the process to remove a PUD? Do we need to discuss this with the planning board? All right. Need public hearings? So maybe we need to do that and hear from the public and see what they think.
Can I clarify, just when I responded to your question earlier?
Yep.
I was responding in the scenario in which the council wants to skip over the planning board process. Our zoning ordinance actually outlines a process, as was discussed briefly here, for the planning board to hold a work session, followed by a public hearing in which they make recommendations to you,
Yep.
council. And then the council has a first reading and a public hearing.
Yep.
So it's essentially a two-step process.
Yep. And that's the
But-
process to do this.
I will state, the council has the authority to skip that. I don't advise it, I don't recommend it, but to answer your question in its entirety, that's the process, and that's outlined in our zoning ordinance.
So right now, I could make a motion to table or to remove the PUD. If 3 of the members voted with me, right now, that would be taken off. Or you could make a motion to just kill it permanently. You could make it a motion to have. So you can do anything you want without having to do any of that because we govern the zoning laws.
Okay.
You can route around the planning board, but that is extremely a dangerous territory for us to just arbitrarily start adjusting zoning rather than the people who deal with it on a week,
Kelly,
monthly basis.
You're shaking your head.
So
Please
right
explain.
now, you can't do that right now, this moment. It requires a first reading and a public hearing, which
Okay.
need to be legally noticed.
Okay. My other thing is, if we look at property in Londonderry, Ted, and I know you said that you don't think there's that many parcels.
Mm-hmm.
I think if you take the GIS map and you start looking, I think you could easily start buying parcels of land and coming up to 100 acres somewhere. I think that's possible just from looking at it. So
It would depend on the situation and the area, and a lot of them are still zoned AR1.
Yep.
Or you'd have a mix, and then you'd have to go about the whole process of having the right zoning. And as well, you also have to have the right percentages of buildings within that PUD to actually make it qualifying for a PUD. So you can't just say, I'm building a PUD, I'm going to do all of this, or I'm going to do that. We have a lot of criteria within the PUDs already that make it pretty limiting to actually qualify.
Do you think you have more
yes,
input with the PUD or less? If we didn't have a PUD and someone still bought those 100-acre parcels of land, we're going to have more input if a PUD regulation exists. Otherwise, they can just build anything they want with underlying zoning.
Yeah.
I don't know, Sean. I mean, I look at it and say, we have a PUD, Woodmont, which was presented to us like this was going to be this isn't, and it's not. And when I listened to the gentleman who's very familiar with this stuff earlier, and he's telling us, listen, your PUD lacks this, and this, all right? He's a gentleman that knows what he's talking about. He's in the business.
I've talked to several people who
than
know
us.
what they're talking about on this situation. There's multiple different opinions on this.
Yep.
It's one of those where, if we just want them to do whatever they want with underlying zoning, when we get a development plan, and I get Woodmont, like I wasn't around then, but I've heard from several people that just because something happened 10 years ago doesn't mean the whole system is broken. However they did the development agreement, that's those people back then. I don't know. But that doesn't have anything to do with the structure of this. And I've read through this ordinance, and it seems to me we're beneficial being able to have some control over a large parcel of land than to just go, we've got nothing. We can't do anything with it. You have to work through a development agreement. And that's why I asked the specific questions about what you wanted to change, because we're not just we want to stop it without even reading through the legislation. That's why I think, Kelly, it was important for her to ask, what changes do you want? Because I think if we're discussing doing anything to this
At that
legislation,
point, that's when we
we
would do
should
it.
have thought about what we want to change, not just, I want to change it.
So let's just go back to what you just said, development agreements. Does Technology Hill have a development
That's an
agreement?
in-process.
They don't have one. The
that
fact is
question
they
for
don't
me?
have one. You don't have to answer, but they don't have one.
Well,
so
they
if you're
don't,
telling me in the first 3 sentences of the PUD, it says something about a development agreement and that all parties, whether it's leasing or sharing, has to be, involved in it and this and that. But we don't have one. So we're not even enforcing the rules that we have. So this bothers me.
We're not.
Where's the development agreement, Sean?
We're not enforcing any rules.
Where's the development
There's
agreement?
no rules broken on that.
Can I just? Mr.
That's
Chair?
that's a new one.
Please,
It's
go ahead.
not 10 years. It's a
Karen,
new
go ahead.
one.
There is no requirement in our zoning ordinance for a development agreement.
I wish I brought it with me. It is there. It's in the under. I can't think of the name of it.
Sure.
If you pulled it
Okay,
up, I'd
let's
show it
go
to
with-
you.
Maybe I'm mistaken.
I will have it and post it.
The references to Woodmont not following the PUD, the master plan, etc., is implying that town staff and the planning board are not following written regulation. And I actually had this conversation with Councilor Bouchard and Paul in the meeting that she referenced earlier. We are following that process. We are following the PUD master plan as written. I understand that there may have been charrettes in conceptual meetings in 2011, 2013 that aren't what that master plan came to be, but I want to be very clear that the regulations are being followed as they are written. I can't emphasize that enough, because to say that we're not doing that is a risk. We are doing it.
I would like to see a meeting with the planning board and get their input on this, because they're dealing with it all the time. I mean, Tony came up here a while ago and said, maybe we need to work things that, fix things. There's some things that might need to be fixed.
Yeah.
So let's fix those things. I mean, that needs to be addressed.
Agreed.
There's just too much of this. We need this, we need this, we need this. And I got this from the meeting with the planning board the other night. All right? We can't dive into everything at one time. We need to address one issue, resolve it, and then tackle another one. I looked at this and say, there's a lot of issues on this that probably need to be addressed. If we can just put it aside for now so we can work on the other things. I don't know how the planning board feels about that, but that's an angle I would look at doing.
And I was on vacation while that was happening, the meeting, and I watched it from my hotel room. And I heard what Jake said, and I thought it was a great idea. He said, these are things that the developers, maybe it wasn't Jake, it might have been Tony. These are certain things that the developers are not using. They're not being used right now. Maybe those are the quick fixes. We take those and move them, put them away for a little bit. And work with the ones that they're actually taking advantage of to reevaluate. I did watch that meeting. If I had known that it was going to happen quicker than 2 weeks, I could have rearranged my family plans, but I did.
Okay, so
I did sit there and watch it.
No, you're right. He did say that was in reference to workforce housing. We were looking at that.
Yeah,
there were
but
certain
all of
zoning
it,
class
you know,
that
he's like-
we removed. We didn't remove for a time. We just removed. They were unused things that were antiquated from the
Right.
regulation.
So bringing it back in, are we going to ask the planning board, as a town council, ask the planning board to discuss this and give recommendations to the town council on the PUD? Or what do we want to do as a council?
The only thing that makes me hesitate from that is when we talked about that, we should pick one thing and go with it. I think, as I've said time and time again, I'd like to pick traffic, honestly. If we're going to pick one thing, and that is, we hear it almost every meeting in here. We hear it almost every meeting on the planning board. If we're going to pick something and drive down that road, and that's why I made it one of my goals. This is so important to this town, and we keep bouncing it around into different roads and causing different problems with people with our quick fixes. That to me is monumental, along with the work you're doing with water. I think those are the two cornerstones of what we've got to do. This is minor based on not having a lot of parcels of land in comparison to those two things. I'm not saying it's a minor thing, but I'm saying if we're going to pick something and go down the road to the planning board, let's do something that fixes this infrastructure for the whole future of the town. And that's traffic is a problem. Instead of stopping a regulation, why don't we provide a solution to the problems they're having out there? And that's why I'd rather do that.
And why do we have traffic problems? It's all the building that's going on.
But so
you have to slow down the building to fix the roads.
When we just got outlined, I don't know how many different units are in this town. Those units are there. That has nothing to do with the past. The traffic problem is now. This will provide relief now. And
but Sean, the thing is if we keep building, right, we got 31,000. If we do what Kevin Smith said, get to the 50,000, now you're going to plan roads for 50,000 population. That's unbelievable amounts of money. And that's probably, you can't do it because these roads were built as cow pats, not built for
Kevin, trying to get more specific, when we're talking about a PUD, that's why I don't think a PUD regulation is as important, because we're not likely to really get another one. And the traffic is here now. And people are screaming out loud for that over and over and over. I don't want to ignore that.
So, Sean, I agree with you on this, okay? However, if we're going to go and attack the traffic issue, okay, why don't we just put this issue aside for a while so we can address the traffic issue? Let's address the traffic issue. Let's leave this, put this aside for a while and come back to it. So that's what I know you're saying.
I understand. I think it has an advantage of being there as far as us having more input than we do if they use the underlying zoning. So I don't agree with putting it on the shelf.
I'm going to follow up. I'm going to say I don't agree with just putting it on the shelf and leaving it there. We need to get a resolution.
Right.
Either send it to the planning board, ask their opinion, follow the procedure,
yes,
or don't. But I don't want to put it on the shelf for 6 months and just ignore it. I want to fix it now. If we're gonna start, we want to fix it now.
Even if it's on the shelf, people can still apply. And
right.
Get it.
Yeah. So.
Well, I'm not
what did he just say? If it's on the shelf, you can still apply for it?
It's still one of our documents. If you're saying putting it on a shelf.
Yeah, and in process, people.
That's why I'm not talking about putting it on the shelf. I'm talking about removing it. Go through the process of removing it. Let's tackle that traffic issue. Let's tackle those issues that we need to address. And then we can address this issue as well. It just seems like...
I guess my thought is, why not address that issue? If you want to address that issue, why not address it now and not put it off?
Why does it have to happen now, Ron?
Because you asked it to be happen, right?
I asked for it to be taken off and put away. Taken out of our tool belt, not to be used, so that we can slow down the growth, look at the traffic, look at the water. Because you know what? When you do the water, you get a whole separate other plans. Because now you can do higher density, higher this and that. And so now you have to really relook at it again when you're looking at writing these things to make sure that is that what you want? Because now you can put like you could tear down a house that had 5 acres and put a little cul-de-sac in it and put 8 houses on there. And that's something Southern New Hampshire Planning Commission talks about all the time. And so, doing that. And that's fine, but we need a plan of what's right for the town. Will that help? That's what's going to help the traffic issue, knowing what's coming, being prepared.
But what you just said has nothing to do with the PUD.
It's a PUD, in my mind, is one step. You take one step off. Then you look at another thing. You take another step off. And then while you're doing that, you're fixing the regulations that we have in order to slow things down so that you can fix the things you have. Because if you keep building out to like where you want to build out to, you're kind of like a snake eating a state. You're never going to catch up.
The max build out of this town is like 32,000. It's not 50,000.
Then we're at it already. So what do you do?
We're not at 32,000.
Everything
it's not
that
the
got
population
built, it
of
said
this town.
31.
No, we're not. We're at like 27,000 people.
That's today. But with this building that came here when Ms. Perez was here, the number came out to 31 plus, not including single-family houses. I would assume
any more single-family homes that could be built beyond the projects that are already in development.
I'm telling you that if that's what we've already got is 32, and you're saying that's the max, we're already there with what we have coming and what's on the plate.
So, Sean,
I haven't
I don't
double-checked
see what other
those
land we can really build upon.
Sean,
Go ahead.
I wrote them down.
I know we're talking about, you just said we should tackle one item, okay? So if we're gonna tackle this, your traffic is going to go by the wayside.
Yeah, and I don't want to tackle this right now. I think traffic is more important, and that's, if I had to pick one thing, that's what I
why
pick.
I was thinking, if we take this, pull this out, all right? So we have time later to work on it while we're looking at the traffic issue or whatever other issue that our planning board.
No, I
wants to
understand what
address.
you're saying. I don't think that's a beneficial way to go about it.
What's the beneficial way?
Yep.
I'd like to
Can-
hear what Sean's idea is, attacking traffic.
Okay. I just have a problem with taking it and putting it aside. I want to fix it. If we're gonna take it and move it along with it, let's move it along with it. I don't want to just put it on the shelf for 6 months and tackle something else. Either we fix it or we don't fix it. That's where I'm at.
So you're telling me that you're pro PUD
No.
as long as it's fixed. Otherwise, you're not. You're against it.
do
You're
not
either
put words
for
in
it or
my-
against it.
Well, which are you?
I'm against it
Then why do you say let's just put it on the shelf? You
because
really wanna
once
just
we
take
put it
out
on
of
the shelf,
circulation.
it helps reduce growth,
And you don't
and
want it
it
off the
helps us look at the other problems. Christine said 72, 96, 440, 134. Then she said 36, 16, 67, 1,430 for a total of 2,288 units. Times 2, which would give you the amount of people in each of those units, roughly 2 people a unit, brings our
assuming-
population. All right, fine. We won't say 2 people. What are you going to say, 1.2? They're all 2 bedrooms. 3 bedrooms.
Every single one of those. I mean, I'm not going over something that someone
And
in
that
public
did not include single family homes. So fine, we'll say 1. Okay, so it's going to give you 3,000 more people in this town. 3,000 plus the 27,000 is how much?
30,000, not 50.
I said that's what Kevin Smith said at the meeting when he stood up here. He said he would
I'm
like
gonna-
to see it grow to 50. So don't twist my words.
Deb, we're
I
having a conversation.
understand,
Just-
but I don't like my words twisted. So, fine, 30, 31. That's what you're saying, 31,000. And we've already got this in place. If we continue on the path that we're on and we add another 2,000 units, we're going to surpass that 32,000 that you're talking about that's sustainable for this community and the
Say
traffic.
Sustainable.
For
I
the
didn't say
traffic.
anything of that. I said that's what the build out of this town is.
What does that mean, the build out of this town? Is that what
Means
you
if-
believe that it can handle?
No, that means if all available lots are purchased and housing is put under there with zoning, that's what we'll end up with. We're not going to end up with 50,000. I'm not twisting your words. You said if we don't watch this, we'll end up with 50,000.
According to Mr. Smith.
Yeah,
I
but
didn't say
you
that.
may have said
number.
according to Mr. Smith, but that's what you said, and that's why I said.
But
we're
my
not
point
getting to
is,
50,000.
then what is a sustainable population? That's a good question. What would be a sustainable, for traffic, population in this town?
There's no way to come up with that number off the top of my head. In the end of the day, when we're dealing with something as complicated as traffic, we need a traffic study to look at.
We already
how
have
this
them. If you go to Southern New Hampshire Planning Commission, they're all updated and new.
That's not a specific traffic study for this town.
They do them specifically.
Well, I disagree.
Well, I'll send them to you and shake you to the
Dan.
link and look.
So can we maybe go forward to the planning board to try to get their input on this and say, what are your thoughts? I mean, we got very smart people on that planning board.
Yeah, I have no problem with hearing the planning board's thoughts on this.
And I think get their input.
Yeah, and I
Okay,
fully
that's-
agree with you. on
Come
all
back
that.
here.
That's what I tried to say 20 minutes ago. But thank you.
And let's come back here after we get their input, and because
So-
I mean,
yes.
Let me ask this.
You guys
Yeah.
all left me out to hang with that planning board. Okay, on that meeting.
there.
On that meeting. Yeah, you were on the planning board side. What are you talking about? And so I just want us to work with them.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes.
And
I agree.
and they're on the idea, Jake, was let's attack one at a time.
Okay.
Okay? So let's attack one at a time.
So let's
Maybe
ask,
it won't be your traffic, Sean.
So let's-
maybe it'll be something else. But
let me ask this.
I want it to be my traffic.
What if we ask Miss Karen to ask the planning board their opinion on the PUD and report back to the council. Is that something we can all agree on tonight?
I'm fine with that. I'm not fine with making it the one thing, but I am fine with doing that. I just want to make a clear distinction.
Yeah, just to say that we should throw out one thing, to do one thing at a time.
Yeah, I mean, they can discuss it and maybe have one of their representatives come to the council and give us their input.
Does that sound reasonable?
What do you think, Kelly?
I would like to also add in with that if staff would be available to do some of your data research that you guys have available at your disposal when you speak with the planning board on, how should I say, the different parcels in land in town and the different legalities of how this actually would go about or not, so that they have the full range of picture of what they're looking at.
Want me to answer that?
Yeah, please.
If you can.
So what I'm hearing is you'd like the planning board to have a work session to discuss the PUD ordinance?
Are we in agreement on that?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay.
All right.
Mr. Chair.
Hi, sir.
So many questions, so many, I don't even know what to think. But what I do want to ask is this. In preparation for that, is it possible to go back and do what we asked 10 days ago to see if we can get the legal, Ms. Paul, legality questions out of the way that we need to answer in case you have questions? Or Councilor Bouchard, if there are things that you have that you need for Kelly and staff to look up or research in preparation for that, if you can send us or Kelly something specifically. Mr. Dunn, same thing, Mr. Faber, and Mr. Combs. We think it's important. Why we asked you to do that was obviously for situations like this. If there was a question that would come up, staff has the time and the research and the ability to get that stuff done in preparation for a meeting. Obviously, we are not as much help as you probably would like tonight, but we tried to get some of these things out there ahead of time for these what-if scenarios. And I think it's important that, I want you all to recognize how quickly staff does drop what they're doing to get these things accomplished in a short turnaround. These topics here are not going to be easy to deal with. They're going to be lengthy. There's legalities involved. So I'm just asking, please make sure if you have specifics or you have your ideas or things that you need, just get them to us so we can put the time in and get you the correct response that you need so these meetings can move along and you guys will have the answer before you get into them.
How much time do you guys need to get the questions to Ms.
So,
Karen?
so if I've already provided my comments, do you want them again or anything additional?
If you want to provide them in writing, that'd be helpful. And I think just more so for the planning board, their specific ask, as Councilor Bouchard highlighted, was direction from the council. So to me, that if you're talking about a zoning amendment, you're asking for specific amendments that you want, whether it's remove it in its entirety or whether it's change section A, B, C, whatever. That's what the planning board's looking for so that they have a starting point for their discussion.
Excellent.
So that way they're moving in the same direction as the council.
When can everybody get their questions to Ms. Karen so we can?
So we're going to go through over almost 2,000 pages of the POD and go through the whole item. I think we're going to need more time to comb through and read every line item.
Okay, how much time would you like to?
Change.
That's what I'm asking. How
We're
much time
just
would you
talking about
The PUD regulation, not.
section 5.2 of the zoning ordinance.
Yeah.
Okay.
How much time would you like to? I just want to give her a deadline so everybody can have it in. Is Friday good with everybody? Is that enough time?
Yeah.
Is that good with you, Ted?
I would not say that's enough time, but
Okay. What would you prefer?
I'd say by the end of the month.
Wow.
I mean,
I don't want to drag it out that line. You think you need 26 days?
Well, so to be fair, the planning board only meets again next Wednesday, and I don't know that they've had ample time to make sure that there's enough time.
Right.
on What's going on?
That's
that
fine.
day.
Right.
So the next planning board meeting would be June 4th.
Okay. We have to give Ms. Karen time to prepare. So let's pick something that's not 25 days away.
fine, 2 weeks.
Okay.
Kelly, can you
Yeah,
can you look at
a little
the
time.
gentleman that came in and spoke? at public comment
Rob.
about
Rob.
Rob. All right?
Mhm.
He had some really good suggestions.
Let's say- thank you, I took notes.
Yeah, I would look at that.
If everybody can have their
I am.
questions to Ms. Karen by May 16th, that'll give her a little over 2 weeks to prepare. Is that good with everybody? Good with you? Okay.
You got
Okay.
it.
Thank you. I don't have any old business. Approval of minutes, April 7th. Minutes first. Anybody have anything to amend after the amendments were made?
I sent mine to.
All right. I'll take a motion to accept April 7th minutes.
So moved.
Motion from Ted.
Second.
Second from Sean. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Chair votes in the affirmative. April 21st minutes. Any changes or additions or? If not, I'll accept the motion to accept the April 21st.
moved.
I heard Ted.
Second.
Second from Sean. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Chair votes in the affirmative. Liaison reports.
So at Planning Board, we discussed 2024 regulations in response to the current the legislation that was passed last year at the state. We made 4 changes. We removed the ability to build workforce housing in AR1. We did some solar regulations. We removed the performance overlay district from the Highway 28 area. And what was the 4th one? And an additional one. The definition of a butter.
Okay.
We made sure we updated because there's a law on the definition of a butter, and we actually made ours more permissive, so we'll give out notices to more people. So, and in reference to the comment made in public comment before, when I said these upcoming zoning regulations have nothing to do with discussion, it's those 4 items, and none of the proposed changes would get into the way of any of the things we did.
Fair enough.
I just I just wanted to talk to Sean about the abutter thing, and I didn't see all of it, so I'm sorry.
No problem.
But I know that by state statute, an abutter is clearly defined by a distance. So when we send letters out to the people, to the extra 200, which I think is great that we're doing, we might be careful about the wording that we send them because you're in close proximity to the project. We're inviting you to come, because if we say they're in a butter, that might be...
That they're not the legal definition.
Yeah,
of butter.
I'm trying to protect us from that. I just thought that might be something that you guys might want to talk about. When I didn't hear all of it, so I'm sorry, but I did hear that part, and I said, we got to be careful there because we don't want to call in a butter that isn't in a butter.
So I'll ask Kelly, does the definition of a butter come from local statute, or does it come from... So if we make it more permissive, we are correct if we're calling that in a butter by our statute.
Okay, so the state has a definition of a butter, which they changed in the 2024 session to essentially include adjacent properties, whereas before it only included directly across the street or stream. And so our notices would state that. We discussed at the planning board to expand the minimum state definition to I think we landed on a 400-foot radius. And so what I would do to address your concern, Councilor Paul, is to adjust the language in the notices to state it references to our Londonderry zoning ordinance and the state definition. So we're covering
both bases.
Both bases.
Perfect.
Yeah.
And noting that Londonderry specifically has an expanded area, if you will, to beyond the minimum state requirement.
And the only other question on that is, when we say abutters, do we include the back property, the back of the property? Is it like a circumference, or is it just the front?
The discussion was to include a 400-foot radius, so the radius
So all the way around. Okay, thank you.
Sean, may I ask what had changed on the solar item?
That was a little intricate for me to just list all out. You could take a look at the meeting.
Sure.
So that entirely new ordinance is
Yeah.
the solar ordinance. And actually, Lynn Wiles, who's the chair of utilities, also sits on the planning board, headed a lot of that effort. based on some discussions with utilities. And so it's essentially trying to address not just residential solar, but commercial solar as well. So if we were to see a solar farm or something of that nature come forward, we have the appropriate regulations in place to address that.
Wonderful. Okay, thank you.
Well done, pretty comprehensive.
Great.
Any other liaison reports? All right. Town manager report.
Got a little fun fact we're going to put out here. If anyone's interested in meeting with the future town manager, Mr. Mulholland, he'll be here as in the town of Londonderry, on May 27th. We're going to have a two-part sit-down meet and greet, questions and answers, maybe get to know him a little bit type of thing. Sean had asked if we thought it'd be a good idea. We agree. It's a great opportunity for council members who may not know him yet or haven't met with him yet, staff or citizens, on May 27th from 9 a.m. to 11. We're going to host some coffee, light refreshments, etc. at the police department community room. We'll have it set up in there. He'll be there. And then again that same evening from 18:30 to 20:30. I apologize for that. I'm going to back up. From 6:30 to 8:30 p.m. Same thing. We'll have maybe some coffee, some decaf, some water for the same time. So that way, if residents can't make the morning 2-hour session, they can be over there in the evening. Great opportunity, great idea. And I believe Cheerston is putting that out in the Lantern. We're going to start sharing this stuff after today. We wanted to brief you folks here first that this was coming. And then we'll start pumping it on our social media outlets in town. That's all I have.
All right. Assistant
Where's
town
the
manager.
location again on?
At the police department community room.
For the nighttime session too?
Both of them, yes, sir.
Great, thank you.
Assistant town manager report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So just to clarify in relation to the planning board work session discussion. So the planning board had asked to move what we already discussed previously at the planning board with respect to zoning amendments to a June meeting. And so my intention would be to add the PUD discussion to that, as long as the council is good with that time. Just wanted to put that out there. Aside from that, the Master Plan Steering Committee is meeting May 15th, 6 p.m. in this room. That's all I got.
Cool. All right. Anyone from public comment?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Tony DeFrancesco, 1 Cheshire. Nothing better than a spirited discussion at a municipal meeting. Gets my juices flowing. I would say that there's nothing that's quite as complicated as a municipality. It's not like running a business or businesses. I've done that. That's way easier than this. The hoops that you have to jump through, the RSAs, the legalities, the process, the time it takes to do everything. When you run a business, you make a decision, by the next morning it's done, right? Drives everybody crazy. One of the things I've noticed in the past 45 years, and I've talked about it many, many times to boards just like yourselves, is to be very careful of unintended consequences. And I would say that if we talk in specifics, talking about the PUD, I think that the PUD that we have on the books right now, although it has some flaws, is better than no PUD because of potential unintended consequences. And I would say that a better way to talk about this, because our town manager, police chief understands this, you don't get rid of a speed limit while you're studying what the proper speed limit would be. You keep the current speed limit that you have, and you do your study, and you do your workaround, and you have a lot of fun with it, and then you reconvene, and you make a new speed limit, or you might find out, you know what? It's not as bad as we thought it was, right? So I want you, please keep that in the back of your mind, that thought. I've seen many town councils and school boards make decisions without it being fully vetted and having unintended consequences kick them really, really hard in the backside. So please keep that in mind. Dan, I really like your comprehensive building plan. Good segue, huh?
Thank you.
But understand, all that cost is a lot of money.
Yes.
So the school district, Mr. Slater's behind me. He's wincing because he's in a shy mood tonight. But they did 7 buildings that included some renovations, whatever, and it was $150,000. You know, would it be $40,000 or $50,000 for yours? Probably that's closer. Maybe more. I don't know, but it's way more than. And I did the tours when they were going through this thing. It took a lot of time, hundreds and hundreds of hours, not just on site, but the back of the house work that needed to be done to produce the reports. But you're talking mechanical engineers, physical engineers, structural engineers, electrical, all kinds of specialists to be able to come up with what's wrong with your buildings and what's the potential lifespan left, what are already dead, what's going to happen moving forward. So that's going to be a pretty healthy budgetary item that I don't think you're prepared for the July 1 budget. Maybe you are, but I'm just saying it's not something that you can ask of a department head. It's very, very complicated. You're going to take a department head out of circulation and out of running his department for 6-7 months to get the report for all the buildings that the town owns. So just keep that in mind, and I'm really glad I came tonight, and have a good evening.
Thank you, Tony.
Thank you, Tony.
Anyone else? Lynn?
Good evening, Lynn Wiles, 46 Bartley Hill Road, Secretary of the Planning Board, Chairman of the Utilities Committee, just to talk about a couple of things. One is I was on the Planning Board back in the day when the PUD ordinance was first written and implemented, and it was an emotional topic back then, and it still is today. So I'm not an emotion-driven guy. I'm a data-driven guy, so I'm really glad to see that we decided to put it through the process. That's the right decision, in my opinion. And so I'm glad we're doing that. And Ted, to your question on the solar ordinance, today the zoning ordinance is silent on solar, so we're trying to address a shortcoming there. We had a project that the Utilities Committee was working on, and we found that as a shortcoming, so we're trying to address that.
Thank you.
And just doing something as simple as that, too, tells me zoning is complicated. The PUD is like maybe a page of language, but it's complicated. So to Tony's point, we really have to watch for unintended consequences, because I think, I think if Woodmont had happened the way it was originally envisioned, we might not be having this conversation today.
Yeah.
But
it was beautiful.
Circumstances change, and stuff happens. So I just think we made a couple of good decisions tonight, so I'm just happy to see it. So thank you all.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Anybody?
I got something.
Okay. Can
we all got this.
Can I finish with them and let Louis last?
Okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
This is like, anyone else with public comment? I'll let you talk at the end. Okay, no problem.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. Kevin Smith, 6 King Philip Drive. Just want to clarify a few of the things that were said this evening by Ms. Paul, a couple of them attributed to me. First of all, I did not say at the last meeting that I wanted the town to grow to 50,000 residents. What I said was, when my in-laws moved here in the 1970s, their realtor at the time said Londonderry will be 50,000 people in 20 years. That's prior to the town putting in all of the growth management tools that it later enacted, things like conservation easements, buying up or putting land in conservation, putting in wetland setbacks, putting in the performance overlay district. You add in all of those things, and to Sean's point, The total build out now of the town is about 33,000 people when you add all of the available parcels that are remaining under the current zoning.
Can I
So
just
that's
interrupt you, Kevin,
excuse
for
me.
one second? I just want to say one thing. I just
Just
wanted
let-
to say I was sorry.
Okay.
I just wanted to give you a public apology. I misheard
thank you.
and I'm sorry.
Thank you.
And I take it back.
Thank you.
I thought I heard you say I didn't. I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Okay.
I just wanted to say that
I appreciate
right there
it.
and then.
Thank you. The second.
And just to
Okay.
clarify, so you think 32,000 is a good number?
I don't know if it's a good number, but what I've been told is 33,000 is about the total build out under the existing zoning of the town of
Okay.
what the total build out will be.
Okay, that I understand. Thank you very, very much.
Yep.
And I agree with you.
The next thing is that the Census Bureau, there's a reason the Census Bureau only counts building permits that have been issued. And that is because even though a project has been approved, a lot of times projects don't end up being built. You know, there was the shops at Londonderry at Exit 5 that was approved probably more than 10 years ago, ended up not being built for economic reasons at the time. So even though things are, and I'm not saying to ignore the things that have been approved, but sometimes you got to see things if things actually get built, if building permits lapse and that sort of thing. So it's important to take that into the equation as well. The third thing is the PUD does not expressly state that every PUD development needs a development agreement. What it says is that if it's under unified ownership, so one owner, it doesn't require a development agreement. Woodmont has a development agreement. Technology Hill does not. Both are under unified ownership. What it says is that if the parcels together make over 100 and they're separate owners, then you need a development agreement, basically stating that everyone's on the same page. So that is what it says about the development agreements. By the way, it doesn't prohibit it either. So if you wanted to do a development agreement with any of the PUDs, you could do that. The last thing I'll say about Woodmont, and in full transparency, I'm a development consultant with the Woodmont Commons project. Nothing that has been done at Woodmont thus far has been contrary to the PUD. Yes, it's been heavy on residential. If you look at the way Tuscan Village built out, they were very heavy on residential at first as well. Oftentimes you need the residential to attract the commercial. Woodmont only has so much residential that it can build. Once it reaches that limit, it can't build beyond that. And it hasn't reached that limit yet. But there's nothing thus far at Woodmont that has been contrary to what was planned for that master plan development. We are in talks and negotiations with a number of retail, commercial, restaurant users right now because they've seen the residential that's gone in there, and it's more attractive to them now as a development. But I don't want anyone to walk away with the misunderstanding that Woodmont's doing something contrary to what was approved under their PUD master plan requirements.
Thank
you.
Before he leaves, can I ask you one question
Sure.
again, Kevin? I'm sorry.
If the chair allows it.
Chair, do you allow me to ask him a
Do you want to
question?
accept the question?
That's fine.
Okay, yeah,
I
go
just
ahead.
wanted to know what that number was. You said that there was slate. I'm sorry. Built out. You said that there's a certain number that they can get to,
Correct.
and they're not there yet.
Correct.
So
I
how
think,
many
Deb,
more
I think
left?
the total number, don't hold me to this, but I
Okay.
think the total number is around somewhere between 1,400 and 1,500 units, if I recall, Kelly. Does that ring a bell with you?
Yes, it's 14 something.
Okay.
And does that all? And I don't know if you can answer this because I know you.
Do you want to take another question, Kevin? Yes.
Sure.
Okay, it's not
This
really
would
fair.
help-
I know,
this
but
would
he's.
help people understand that like 1,400 is
But
not
we
going to
understand
be
it's
all
public
apartments.
comment. It's him telling us, not
I
you
know.
telling him.
But it's still
So,
a
it's just-
discussion.
okay,
and it's
that's
an
fine.
important discussion,
Okay.
I think. It is.
Yeah,
A lot of
okay.
people give me
All
a
right.
lot of questions
Okay.
about these things. So it's 14, and so we have
14
how many,
and change.
So, but we built how many? We got how many left?
We have.
Approximately. You don't have to be
Yeah,
exact.
no, I can tell you this. We've got the two Wood Partners, which is currently under construction, is 264. We've got 87 that have already been built in that mixed-use building. The Baldwin fell under commercial density, so that the units didn't count as residential, but they counted against the commercial density.
Okay.
and then and so that's everything that has been built thus far.
Okay. And
Deb,
I'm
Deb,
so
it's public comment. Come on.
Ron,
He doesn't-
I
but-
have just as much, and he's
But I'm
helping
saying-
people by knowing this because it
But-
will stop the rumor and hearsay that goes on, and he knows this.
I'm not going to do anything the chair doesn't
No,
say.
are you okay? Answer. I don't want to.
I'll take one more.
Okay,
Is that all right?
I mean,
and then
My
Deb, if you
point
want
is-
to email me,
But I wanted the people to hear it because I think it's important
Yep.
because you know and I know there's a lot of questions out there about
Yep,
it because
sure.
there's a lot of misnomers and whatever.
Yep.
And I'm trying to be helpful to both of us, really, to stop the things. And so the question is, so we have a few left. In those few, is there any percentage that's going to be, because when I remember going to the charrettes with John Michaels, and there was broken out into like smaller single-family homes, bigger single-family homes. There were even some apartments that looked like old Victorian houses they had, which I think are wonderful, by the way. And there were things like that. Is that still in the mix? And I know you may or may not be able to answer this. Is that still kind of in the mix, or will it all be kind of more apartment-y?
no. In fact, everything north of Pillsbury Road is not going to be multifamily. Those are all going to be single-family homes. There's a development right now that is currently in design review right now that are single-family homes, and it's a mixture of rental single families and for sale single families.
Okay.
But they're smaller homes.
That's a good thing.
That's a good thing. I can't guarantee you that the price is going to be small, though.
Well, that nobody can guarantee.
But they are smaller homes, and
Yeah.
in fact, the layout of such and the design of such were received very positively by the Heritage Commission because it's in very much keeping with the style of almost farm-like. They're very rural. It's more like a village.
World War II kind of. Yeah.
I think they're nicer than that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Kevin, thank you for taking 3 questions. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Sorry.
It's
I know, but
helped him.
Thank you for your time.
Anybody else with public comment?
I'm Douglas, 6 Overlook Ave. I've been coming to these meetings for 19 years, and what I see, first of all, I think everyone ought to watch that planning board meeting, because I'm not sure what the word is without offending people, but there was some very passionate statements made. In my opinion, a lot of finger pointing. Planning board said there's nothing they can do about traffic. They just build it. It's the council's responsibility to deal with traffic. I hear we're going to deal with traffic. I've heard we're going to deal with traffic for years and years and years. Way back, I think before 2006, I went to this thing called the Best Town Initiative. And it was, what do we want Londonderry to be? And people getting up and said, we want sidewalks, we want this and this. And the people from Massachusetts, which get blamed for all this stuff, they were the ones that stood up and said, no, that's not what we want. We want rural New Hampshire. That's what we moved into. Years ago, you get run out of town for even mentioning a sidewalk at town meeting, back when we had it at the high school and 110 people showed up and voted everything, and it was done. I'm hearing people that are trying to fix something. As far as the PUD, I was there when they passed the PUD. I believe Mike Brown said, I don't know where this is even going to be used. There's no property that this could be used on. 2 weeks later, the orchards were sold. It was then brought to the attention that people knew that purchase and sales had been signed 2 years prior. Don't figure. You have to do something. I mean, what I'm seeing is the public is constantly being ignored. We've had people that have talked about whatever it is going on with these zoning bills up in Concord. There's a huge hoopla. It's going to change everything, not going to change everything. People have come here. They've come to the planning board. They're completely ignored. New Hampshire Municipal Association came out with an urgent request to their members to oppose all of those bills. No one's discussing it up here. Traffic is getting worse. People are getting fed up. You follow the process. It goes to the planning board. Planning board doesn't take public comment. Kick the can down the road. Workforce housing, no one wanted it. We kicked it down, kicked it down, kicked it down. Then we got it. I do think that they're following the procedures of everything, but Woodmont has changed. My opinion, when he started, he probably had a lot of money he was looking at. It stalled. Things change, economy changes. You can't do exactly what you wanted to do in the beginning. I was for it in the beginning. Not so much for it now. Maybe in 20 years, we'll see. Impact fees we were told we got rid of because they were replaced with development agreements. Come to find out, we don't have any development agreements, but that's what we were told. Pettingill Road, greatest thing since sliced bread, was going to be 5,000 new jobs, 10,000 jobs. I think it actually went up to 15,000 jobs. We got nothing except factories. We get traffic, and the residents don't feel that they have a say. And I think that's really true.
Thank you, sir.
I'll just say, I agree with Mr. Douglas, and that's why I want to push this traffic. We need to quit talking about it and give them something.
Anybody else for public comment? Seeing none, I will close public comment. Oh, sorry, Dan, sorry. I forgot about you. Dan, sorry. Sorry. Dan, sorry.
So, I have a couple concerns. On April 15th, we all received a letter from a concerned citizen on Shady Brook concerning all the trees that got cut down. I spoke with Kelly. I asked if there was any plans. She said she was not aware of anything that was coming forward, and there was none. So I checked with the building department, and nothing. I checked with assessing, and they were very helpful. They reached out to the state and had someone come down and did find out that there was an intent to cut there. The state did say that the plan should be looked at to see if there are any restrictions on the approved plan because it's an active gravel pit. So that would indicate that maybe that there is a buffer zone there or something. Now, I've asked 4 times to see this plan. I'm still waiting for it. I'd like to know when I can see the plan so I can get back to this resident. I think it's fair that we get back to people in a timely manner. But to keep waiting to look at this plan, I don't want to hear no, yes. I want to see the plan. I want to be able to go back and look at these people and say, this is what we've done. We've done everything. So I'm asking town manager to see when I can see this plan so we can close this out for this resident. My other thing that I want to bring up is, you've all got the email probably from a young lady looking to do a project on Independence Drive. That she wants to do some sort of a, hold on, where is it? Oh, planning a car show on Saturday, July 12th. She'd like to know what the process is.
Process has been addressed. I took care of it.
You did?
The town manager's looking into it.
Should have shared.
I didn't get it.
That would be
Sharing
meeting
is
that I'm not
caring.
allowed.
Did you ever watch Barney?
But
It's an illegal
that'd be
meeting.
considered an illegal meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah. So not allowed to do that.
I had forwarded
But-
that right to the town
but
manager
yes.
too, as soon as I got it.
So-
Because that's
So just
something
so
for
we
him to
know,
address.
Yeah.
what is the process for her to go through this?
So we've had a couple people look at it. We're just trying to solidify the last bits of information. Obviously, shutting down roads for a private event or a fundraiser. We got to make sure that all the legalities on our end are addressed before we give the green light.
Yeah. So I told her to reach out to police and fire. So I just want to make sure that we follow up. I don't know if it has to, Kim, does it have to come in front of the council to shut down that road at some point?
I don't believe so. I believe what we'll do is we'll take a look at the plan or the dates and times and all that and see what's required. I have talked to Rec, and we're going to finalize, obviously, with the PD. And I know who the resident is, and I'll reach out to her soon.
Thank you.
The only thing that should happen is they should notify the people in the neighborhood, just like John Mortimer does with Millennium Running. He tells people that the event's going to go on so that people know that these roads will be closed. He does it out of courtesy, I think. It's a nice thing to just let people know.
It's an industrial part of town up in the north sector. That won't be an issue, I don't believe.
Okay.
So getting back to Shady Brook, when do you think I can see that plan?
So I believe at this point, town personnel-wise, we've all done our part on that, including myself. Mr. Bouchard, I went up there and spoke to the resident too. We've had engineering look at it, planning look at it. I believe at this point, the recommendation is that tree cutting phrase, whatever it was called, exactly what she just said, the intent to cut. If the state's got it, then they're good to go. As far as us as the town of Londonderry, it looks like there's nothing that we are involved with that or can do at this point forward. They were in the right to do what they did. And to you and to others, it doesn't look great, but
No, but my question is, do we have the plan, the approved plan for that
So-
development, for that gravel pit?
So it's my understanding that that gravel operation is grandfathered, and so no, I don't have a plan in my files because of the age of the site. I have reached out to the property owner to see if they might have their own records that they could share. I've also reached out to the state to see if they have any records to share, and I haven't heard back yet.
Yeah, the state said that the town would have something if there was.
So it-
So,
Not in every instance, but again, I reached out to the property owner to see if they had a plan from 1978 that they might be willing to share, because I don't have any in my records that I
so
can
we
find.
do not have a plan.
Not that
for
I
the
could
town.
locate.
That's what I need to know. Thank you.
All right, with that, I'll close public comment, and I will accept the motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Ted, second by Sean. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed?